Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from. And you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. The night the town of Briarwood learned about the child who never blinked began like any other quiet autumn evening. A thin layer of fog clung to the cracked sidewalks, drifting lazily from the nearby forest as the last traces of daylight faded into a dull amber haze. Most families were inside preparing dinner or watching television, but 12-year-old Ethan Miller was still outside riding his bike along Maple Street. Ethan loved the gentle chill of October and the way the air smelled like dying leaves and distant rain. He had no idea that before the night ended, he would encounter something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Ethan coasted to a stop when he noticed a figure standing perfectly still at the far end of the street. The figure was small, maybe the size of a young child, and its silhouette was rigid as if carved from stone. Ethan squinted, expecting the child to move or wave or show some sign of life, but nothing happened. Curious but uneasy, he pushed his bike forward a few feet. The fog rolled aside just enough for him to see the face. The child had pale skin, almost translucent under the streetlight, and eyes so large and dark they reflected no shine at all. What unsettled Ethan the most was the complete absence of blinking. The child stared directly at him, unmoving, unbreathing, motionless like a mannequin abandoned on a suburban street. Ethan swallowed hard and forced himself to speak, but his voice cracked. "Hey, are you lost?" The child did not answer. It did not tilt its head or shift its weight or even twitch. It simply stared with those round, unblinking eyes. Ethan felt a strange tightness in his chest, as if something unseen had reached into him and squeezed. He took a shaky breath and stepped back. As he did, the child lifted one arm slowly, deliberately, as though learning how to move for the first time. Its fingers extended toward him. Ethan froze. The air around him grew colder, and the fog thickened into a suffocating cloak. A sudden loud metallic crash broke the silence. Ethan jerked his head toward the sound. A garbage can had fallen over near an alley. When he looked back at the child, it was gone, vanished without a single footstep or sound. Ethan spun, searching the fog, but nothing moved. His skin crawled. He grabbed his bike and pedaled home as fast as he could, his breath shaking with every turn of the wheel. Inside the Miller house, warm lights from the kitchen spilled across the living room carpet. His mother, Laura, was chopping vegetables for soup and humming softly. She turned when Ethan burst through the door, pale and trembling. "What happened to you?" she asked, gently wiping her hands. Ethan struggled to speak. "There was a kid outside. He never blinked, Mom. He just stared at me." Laura assumed he meant some neighborhood child playing a prank. "This town is full of strange kids, Ethan. It was probably someone messing with you." But Ethan shook his head violently. "No, Mom. He didn't blink once. Not once. And his eyes were huge, like they were too big for his face." Laura frowned but did not argue. She knew her son had an active imagination, yet his trembling hands told her he truly believed what what he had seen. She told him to stay inside for the night and try to relax. Ethan agreed, but as he lay in bed later staring at the ceiling, he could not shake the feeling that the child was still out there somewhere watching him through the fog. At exactly midnight, Ethan awoke to a clicking noise tapping against his bedroom window. His heart jumped. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the moon behind the curtains. The clicking came again, deliberate and rhythmic. Ethan pulled the blanket up to his chin as his breath quickened. He forced himself to approach the window even though fear crawled over every inch of his body. Slowly, he pulled the curtain aside. Standing on the lawn below, illuminated by moonlight, was the same pale, unblinking child. Its face pointed upward toward Ethan, its massive eyes reflecting nothing. It raised one finger and tapped the glass again, even though it was too far away to reach it. The sound echoed inside Ethan's room as if it existed only in his mind. Ethan stumbled back and fell onto the floor, trembling. When he looked again, the child was gone, replaced by a ripple in the grass, as if something had just crawled away into the shadows. The next morning, Ethan told his parents everything. His father, Daniel, stern and rational, believed Ethan had experienced a nightmare. Laura, however, could not dismiss her son's fear so easily. She had grown up in Briarwood and remembered the strange stories the older residents used to whisper about the woods, about a child seen wandering the town at night, never blinking, never speaking, never aging. They called it the Watcher Child. Most people considered the tale nothing more than a piece of folklore meant to scare kids indoors after dark. But something in Ethan's story stirred a deep, unsettling memory in Laura. She told Daniel they needed to be cautious. The following day, Ethan could not focus at school. Every shadow in the hallway, every empty doorway felt like a hiding place for the unblinking gaze he had seen the night before. During recess, he kept scanning the fence line, searching the tree tips for that pale face. After school, Ethan walked home with his best friend Oliver, who always tried to lighten the mood. "Dude, you look awful. Did you even sleep?" Oliver joked. Ethan shook his head. "I saw him again. The kid. Last night." Oliver raised an eyebrow. "You sure it wasn't some creep or maybe a dream?" "I was awake," Ethan said firmly, "and he made a noise on my window even though he wasn't close enough to touch it." This time, Oliver stopped walking. All joking faded from his face. "You mean like supernatural stuff?" Ethan nodded reluctantly. As they approached Maple Street, the fog had already begun forming, even though it was hours before sunset. It slithered along the ground as though emerging from an unseen source. Ethan felt chilled. Oliver clutched his backpack nervously. Then they saw him. The unblinking child stood at the far end of the street, exactly where Ethan had seen him before. Still, silent, watching. But this time the child raised both arms slowly, then jerked forward one unnatural step. Ethan screamed, "Run!" and both boys sprinted toward Ethan's house, but the fog swallowed their path. The air thickened, growing icy and heavy. They stumbled blindly until Ethan's porch light came into view. When they reached it, Ethan spun around, but the child was no longer there. His father opened the door at the sound of their frantic footsteps. "What's going on?" Ethan didn't answer. He simply clutched Oliver's arm and pointed at the street. But the street was empty. Ethan barely slept that night, even with his bedroom light left on and his curtains drawn tight. He could still feel the unblinking child's stare somewhere out in the fog. Every creak of the house made his nerves tighten, and every gust of wind made him imagine those pale eyes waiting behind the glass. When morning arrived, he felt hollow and exhausted, but determined to make someone believe him. He could not carry this fear alone anymore. At breakfast, his father read the newspaper while his mother tried to coax Ethan into eating something. He pushed scrambled eggs across his plate, unable to swallow. Oliver sat beside him because Laura had invited him over, hoping his presence might ease Ethan's tension. But Oliver was just as shaken. He kept glancing at the window as though expecting the fog to press against the glass, even though the sun shone bright outside. Daniel finally lowered the newspaper. "Enough of this nonsense," I said firmly. "You boys let your imagination run wild. There is no strange child wandering the neighborhood. You probably saw some runaway or someone pulling a cruel prank." Ethan lifted his eyes slowly. "Dad," he said, "the window tapping last night. He was not close enough to reach it. I saw him. He tapped it inside my head." His father scoffed, but quickly softened when he saw real fear in Ethan's face. "We will keep the doors locked. That is all we can do." Laura, however, felt something tighten in her chest. She remembered half-whispered stories from decades ago, tales of a pale child who appeared only during heavy fog. Some said the child was the spirit of someone lost in the Briarwood woods. Others claimed it was something older than the town itself, something that watched and learned from the living. She had always dismissed those stories until now. After breakfast, Ethan and Oliver attempted to distract themselves with video games, but the screen did little to pull their minds away from the unease creeping through their thoughts. At noon, a shadow moved outside the living room window. Ethan jumped. Laura peeked through the curtain, expecting a neighbor or delivery, but saw nothing except a faint curl of fog rising. Although the weather forecast promised clear skies, Ethan whispered, "He is coming earlier today." Oliver said nothing. His fingers trembled on the game controller. They both sensed the air changing, becoming heavier, colder, as if the unseen presence was drawing nearer carefully, deliberately. By late afternoon, fog rolled through Briarwood far earlier than any normal autumn day. It slithered across driveways and coiled around mailboxes. People stepped onto their porches, confused by the sudden chill. Some called out to neighbors, asking whether someone had set off smoke bombs for a prank. Others hurried their children inside, sensing an instinctive wrongness in the air. Ethan stood at his window, unable to look away as the white curtain thickened. Oliver beside him whispered, "I don't like this, Ethan. I don't like this at all." Then they saw movement. At first, just a faint outline. Then the unmistakable silhouette of a child emerging from the fog. The figure walked slowly, each step stiff and mechanical, its head tilted slightly toward the Miller house, as though drawn to something only it could sense. Ethan stepped back, but the figure kept approaching. Its feet barely disturbed the grass. Laura Laura rushed into the room and gasped when she saw the shape moving toward them. Daniel joined a second later and immediately locked the door, even though the child was still outside on the lawn. Everyone in the room felt the pressure of silence tighten. The figure stopped at the base of the porch and lifted its face. Its eyes were wrong, too large, too dark, too empty, and still it did not blink. The child reached toward the door, not with the eagerness of someone seeking help, but with the cold curiosity of something studying a cage. Daniel whispered, "What is it, Laura?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Ethan felt tears burning behind his eyes. He knew this presence was meant for him. It had chosen him. But why? Suddenly the figure vanished. One moment it stood in the fog. The next it dissolved into it, like smoke consumed by wind. Daniel exhaled shakily. "I'm calling the police," he said, grabbing his phone. But Laura stopped him. "And tell them what? A child stared at us. There is nothing they can do." Ethan turned to his mother. "Mom," he whispered, shaking, "why is it here? What does it want?" She placed her hand on his shoulder, trying to steady her voice. "Some stories from this town warn that the Watcher child appears to those who see something they should not have seen. It follows those who look back at it." Ethan felt the room tilt. "I didn't do anything," he said, but he knew that was not true. He had looked too long, far too long. The rest of the evening sank into a haze of fear. The fog never lifted. It clung to the house, as if waiting for darkness to reclaim the night. Daniel stayed near the door, armed with a flashlight, and the uneasy confidence that locks and wood could keep out whatever stalked them. Laura stayed with the boys, trying to keep them close, though her hands trembled whenever she brushed past a window. By midnight, the house fell silent. The fog outside glowed faintly under the moonlight, giving everything an otherworldly pallor. Ethan sat awake on the couch with Oliver leaning against him, half asleep from exhaustion. Laura dozed in a chair nearby. Daniel paced quietly from room to room, checking windows and doors. Then the sound returned, a soft tapping, not on Ethan's window this time, but on the front door. A slow, rhythmic click. Daniel froze. The tapping grew louder. Laura jerked awake. Oliver gasped. Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. Daniel approached the door, gripping the flashlight tightly. He pressed his eye to the peephole. Nothing, just fog. But the tapping continued, as if performed by invisible fingers. Daniel swallowed and tightened his grip, but did not open the door. Then Ethan felt a whisper inside his skull. "Let me see you." He stumbled backward, clutching his head. The whisper did not come from the outside. It echoed inside him from a place that did not feel like his own thoughts. Laura rushed to him, asking what was wrong, but he could not answer. Tears streamed down his face as the whisper grew stronger, pressing against his mind like cold hands. "Let me see you, Ethan," he screamed. The tapping stopped instantly. The fog outside shifted as though something had stepped away. Silence clamped down around the house, leaving only the sound of Ethan's rapid breathing. Laura held him close, while Daniel stood frozen at the door, helpless, completely unprepared to fight something that did not obey the rules of the natural world. Oliver whispered into the dark, "Ethan, why does it want you?" Ethan wiped his trembling hands across his face. I don't know, he whispered, but I think it won't stop until I find out. Ethan woke before the sun the next morning, his heart pounding as though he had been running in his sleep. He sat up, trembling at the memory of the whisper that had clawed its way into his mind. The house was quiet, but he felt the lingering echo of something cold watching him from the darkness beneath his thoughts. He pressed his palms to his eyes, trying to steady himself. He wanted to believe the nightmare had passed, but the silence felt unnatural, heavy, as if the fog had seeped into the walls. Downstairs, the Millers moved about in uneasy routine. Daniel brewed coffee with shaking hands, trying to mask his fear with frustration. Laura stood by the window, staring at the still lingering haze outside. Oliver had stayed overnight because none of them wanted to leave the boys alone. He sat at the kitchen table, clutching a mug of untouched hot chocolate. No one spoke at first. They were too drained, too frightened to make sense of what had happened. Eventually, Daniel cleared his throat. We cannot live like this. We will figure out what to do. Maybe we should talk to someone who knows about these old stories. Someone who can explain this. Laura hesitated but nodded. There is one person, she said slowly. Mrs. Halden. She lives on Prospect Hill. She used to tell stories about the Watcher child when I was a teenager. People said she collected local folklore. Daniel blinked. Folklore. You want to ask an old storyteller how to deal with whatever this thing is. Laura met his eyes firmly. Do you have a better idea? No one answered because the answer was obvious. They had no idea how to fight something that slid through fog and whispered inside minds. So Daniel agreed reluctantly. They would visit Mrs. Halden, but before they left, Ethan spoke, voice tight. What if he comes back while we are gone? Laura knelt in front of him. If he comes back, she said, we will face him together. You are not alone. They drove through Briarwood in a tense quiet. Fog still clung to the trees, even though sunlight pushed through from above. It felt wrong, like the fog refused to leave, because it was waiting for something. Houses looked muted and distant behind the white veil. Some residents peeked nervously from their porches, whispering to one another. Something had changed in the town, and everyone felt it, even if they did not know why. Mrs. Halden's house sat at the top of a narrow hill, surrounded by crooked oak trees. The old woman had lived alone for decades, and her home looked like it belonged in another era, with peeling paint and a porch sagging under the weight of time. When Daniel knocked, the door creaked open before he even touched the handle. A frail voice floated from the shadows inside. I knew someone would come today. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. The woman stepped into view, her gray hair tied in a loose braid, her eyes sharp and unsettlingly aware. She studied them carefully before nodding. Come in. The house smelled like old books mixed with the faint scent of dried herbs. The shelves were lined with leather-bound journals and jars filled with strange objects. Ethan stayed close to his mother while Oliver scanned every corner nervously. Mrs. Halden motioned for them to sit. You are here about the child, she said without hesitation. The room fell silent. Daniel leaned forward. You know what it is? She nodded slowly. Not what? Who? Ethan swallowed. Why is he following me? Mrs. Halden fixed her gaze on him. Because you saw him, and because he saw something in you. The Watcher child chooses one person at a time. He attaches himself like a shadow. Once you meet his gaze, he marks you. But what is he? Oliver whispered, voice cracking. A ghost. Mrs. Halden shook her head. No, ghosts fade. This one does not fade. He has been here longer than Briarwood itself. The settlers wrote about him in their journals. Before them, the indigenous tribes spoke of a pale child who walked through mist between two worlds. Some believed he was a lost spirit searching for warmth. Others believed he was a messenger from a place where no living thing belongs. Daniel frowned. How do we get rid of him? Mrs. Halden looked at him gravely. You do not get rid of him. You face him. If you run, he follows. If you hide, he waits. If you deny him, he breaks through your thoughts. But if you confront him with the right knowledge, you may sever his hold. Laura leaned forward. What knowledge? Mrs. Halden stood slowly and retrieved an old journal from a shelf. Its cover was cracked and worn. She set it on the table and opened it to a page filled with sketches of the unblinking child drawn centuries ago. Ethan stared at the drawings, horrified that the same creature had stared at him just days earlier. The Watcher child appears during unnatural fog, she explained. He does not blink because he does not see as we see. His gaze pierces through the spaces between thought and shadow. He seeks entry but cannot enter unless invited or unless fear weakens the barrier. Ethan spoke barely above a whisper. He spoke inside my mind last night. Mrs. Halden nodded grimly. Then the barrier has begun to thin. You must act soon. Before Ethan could ask another question, the windows rattled violently. Everyone froze. Fog pressed against the glass from outside, swirling with unnatural movement. Daniel stood protectively in front of the boys. Mrs. Halden whispered, "He should not be here in daylight." A loud thud shook the front door. Ethan flinched. Another thud followed, harder this time. The fog outside thickened rapidly, turning the hilltop house into an island in a sea of white. Oliver grabbed Ethan's arm, trembling. Mrs. Halden whispered something under her breath, a chant or prayer Ethan did not recognize. Then the doorknob began to turn. Daniel rushed to hold it steady, but the unseen force twisted with inhuman strength. The old wood groaned as though about to splinter. Ethan felt the familiar cold settle into his bones. The whisper returned inside his mind, faint but unmistakable. "Let me see you, Ethan." He stumbled backward, clutching his head. Laura caught him, barely keeping him upright. Mrs. Halden turned to him urgently. "He is calling you. You must not answer." But the pressure inside Ethan's skull grew stronger, pushing, threading through his thoughts. The walls of the house seemed to warp around him, as if reality itself bent in response to the entity outside. His vision blurred until he could see both the room and something else, a dim place where shapes crawled beneath a gray sky. The doorknob jerked violently. Daniel cried out in pain, but refused to let let go. The fog outside pulsed like a living creature. Mrs. Halden thrust a small wooden charm into Ethan's hand. It was carved with intricate lines forming a circle around an empty center. She whispered, "Hold this. It is an anchor. It can help you resist his pull." Ethan clutched the charm tightly, and the whisper in his mind faltered momentarily. The pressure eased just enough for him to breathe. The door stopped shaking. The fog outside thinned as though retreating. The presence faded slowly, reluctantly, like a predator forced to withdraw. Silence returned. But it was a fragile silence, heavy with dread. Daniel slumped against the door, gasping. Laura held Ethan close, tears in her eyes. Oliver could not stop shaking. Mrs. Halden lowered herself into a chair, looking decades older than before. "He is stronger than I expected," she murmured. "Stronger than he has ever been." Ethan stared at the floor, clutching the charm. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why does he want me?" Mrs. Halden closed her eyes. "Because you saw him at the exact moment he wanted to be seen, and because he believes you can open something he has tried to reach for centuries." Ethan felt the room tilt as a new fear settled deep within him. The Watcher child did not want to haunt him. He wanted to use him. The ride back from Mrs. Halden's house felt longer than the journey there. The fog thinned but never fully vanished, drifting like pale ribbons across the road. Ethan sat in the back seat, clutching the wooden charm so tightly the edges dug into his palm. He stared out the window, expecting at any moment to see the unblinking child standing on the roadside watching the car pass. But the fog remained empty, quiet, almost waiting. Laura kept glancing at Ethan through the rear-view mirror, worry carved deep into her face. Daniel gripped the steering wheel, silently thinking through every word Mrs. Halden had spoken. Oliver sat rigid beside Ethan, unable to shake the memory of the doorknob twisting with inhuman force. None of them felt safe. The road home felt like a narrow thread stretched between two worlds, and they feared what waited at the end of it. When they reached the Miller house, Daniel checked every corner of the yard before letting anyone out of the car. The air felt colder. The grass shimmered faintly with a thin layer of dew, even though the sun was high. Ethan stepped onto the driveway hesitantly. The charm tingled in his palm as if reacting to something unseen. He whispered to Laura, "Do you think he is here?" She shook her head, though she clearly did not believe her own words. "Let's get inside." The house felt different when they entered, heavier, as though the fog that retreated from the hilltop had found a way to seep inside these walls instead. Ethan rubbed the charm against his thumb, trying to steady his breathing. Oliver whispered, "I don't like this." Ethan nodded. "Me neither." Daniel tried to maintain control of the situation. "Everyone stays in the living room," he said firmly. "No one goes anywhere alone. We will figure out a plan." But Ethan knew they were improvising against something far older and more patient than any of them. Hours passed with slow, unbearable tension. The sun crawled across the sky, but the unease inside the house did not Laura attempted to read through Mrs. Halden's journal entries they had copied before leaving, but many pages were written in cryptic phrases about shadows between thoughts and ancient fog. Daniel paced back and forth, analyzing everything they knew, but none of it formed a solution. Oliver sat beside Ethan, watching him more than the room. "How are you holding up?" Ethan shrugged tightly. "I don't know. The charm helps, but it feels like he is still near, waiting." Late in the afternoon, Ethan heard something faint, a distant hum. At first, he thought it was the refrigerator or a car passing outside, but the sound grew clearer. It was a voice, soft, low, echoing somewhere inside the walls. Ethan stiffened. Oliver noticed instantly. "What is it?" Ethan held up a hand, trying to listen. The voice drifted through the room like smoke slipping between their thoughts. "Do you see me, Ethan?" He clutched the charm so tightly his knuckles whitened. The voice was not in his mind this time. It was somewhere in the house. Laura looked up sharply, sensing the shift in the air. Daniel grabbed a flashlight, even though it was broad daylight. The humming grew louder. A vibration followed, making the floor beneath them tremble faintly. Oliver whispered, "Is he inside?" Daniel whispered, "Stay behind me." They moved slowly through the hallway, with Daniel leading Ethan and Oliver close behind Laura, following. The sound guided them to the basement door. A thin sliver of fog leaked from underneath like a living thing. Ethan shook violently. Daniel swallowed hard and turned the doorknob. The door creaked open, revealing darkness below. The basement lights flickered, but illuminated nothing unusual at first. Then Ethan saw it, a shape standing at the bottom of the stairs, the unblinking child. Its eyes reflected no light, and its body stood perfectly still as though carved from mist. Ethan gasped and stumbled backward into Oliver. Daniel froze mid-step. Laura covered her mouth to stifle a scream. The child lifted its head slowly. Its neck moved with stiff, unnatural motion, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Then it took one step onto the first stair. The wood beneath its foot did not groan. Instead, the fog seeped around its ankle like obedient smoke. Daniel shouted, "Stay back!" but the child ignored him. It took another step, and another. The air tightened around them, pressing inward until each breath felt thick. Ethan felt the charm heating in his palm, almost burning him. The child paused halfway up the stairs, its eyes locked onto Ethan. Then Ethan felt the whisper again, now clearer, stronger. "You saw me when you were not supposed to. You opened a door. Now you must finish it." Ethan squeezed his eyes shut, trying to shut out the voice, but images flooded through his mind. A forest shrouded in gray, a doorway made of fog, shapes moving just beyond visibility, something reaching through. Daniel hurled the flashlight down the stairs. It passed through the child as though through vapor, clattering uselessly against the concrete floor. Laura cried out. Oliver trembled violently. The child lifted one arm, reaching toward Ethan. Fog spiraled around its fingers, stretching toward him like tendrils. The charm pulsed hot. Ethan cried out in pain and dropped it. The charm clattered onto the floor, glowing faintly. The fog recoiled from it instantly like an animal hissing from fire. The child froze. For the first time, its expression shifted, not with emotion, but with awareness. It recognized the charm. It stepped back. Daniel seized the chance and slammed the basement door shut. He locked it and pushed a chair against the handle. Though he doubted wood and metal could stop whatever stood below, everyone held their breath. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the tapping started, slow rhythmic tapping against the basement door. Each tap vibrated through the wood like something testing its strength. Ethan covered his ears, but the sound seeped into his bones. Laura whispered, "Daniel, what do we do?" He shook his head, unable to speak. Suddenly, the tapping stopped. Silence pressed heavily through the hallway. Ethan crouched to pick up the charm. It felt cool again, lifeless but comforting. As he touched it, a memory from Mrs. Halden surfaced in his mind. She said the charm was an anchor, a way to resist the pull. But it could do more if he understood it, if he learned how to use it. The basement remained silent for the rest of the evening, but the fear lingered thick in the air. No one dared open the door again. They stayed together in the living room, jumping at every sound. Outside, the fog crawled slowly across the yard as though circling the house in patient hunger. That night, as Ethan lay awake on the couch, Oliver whispered, "Are you asleep?" Ethan whispered back, "No, I keep thinking about what he said, about me opening a door." Oliver swallowed. "Do you think you did?" Ethan stared at the charm. "Maybe when I saw him. Maybe that was the door." Oliver shivered. "Then how do we close it?" Ethan did not answer because he did not know, but one thing had become painfully clear. The Watcher child was no longer content to stay in the fog. He wanted to come inside. Night fell heavy over Briarwood, as if the sky itself feared what moved beneath it. Ethan remained awake long after Oliver had drifted into an uneasy sleep. He sat propped against the couch, clutching the wooden charm with both hands. The room was dim, lit only by the faint glow of a street lamp outside. Fog pressed against the windows in soft, pulsing waves, like something breathing slowly, waiting for permission to enter. Ethan could not shake the feeling that the Watcher child lingered just beyond the glass, studying every inch of the house. Daniel sat in a chair facing the front door, refusing to sleep. His jaw was tight, his shoulders stiff from hours of tension. Laura sat beside Ethan, smoothing his hair gently, though her hands trembled every few minutes. She pretended to be strong, but Ethan could feel the fear flowing off her like heat from a fire. Finally, Ethan spoke, breaking the silence. "Mom," he said quietly, "why did he choose me?" Laura hesitated, her lips parted, as if she wanted to give a comforting answer, but none existed. "I do not know," she whispered, "but Mrs. Halden said he chooses someone who sees him at a moment that should not exist. Maybe he was not meant to appear that night. Maybe you caught him between one world and another." Ethan looked down at the charm. The circular carving around the empty center looked almost alive in the dim light. "What does he want me to open?" He whispered it more to himself than anyone else. Daniel responded without looking away from the door. "We are not going to find out. We are going to shut whatever this is down somehow. But Ethan sensed a truth he could not deny. The Watcher child wanted something from him specifically, and it would not stop until it had it. A soft creaking noise echoed from upstairs. Everyone froze. Oliver jolted awake. Daniel slowly stood, gripping a heavy flashlight like a weapon. Laura whispered, "Not again." They heard another creak, followed by a muffled thump, as if something moved inside the hallway above them. Ethan felt the whisper creeping into his thoughts again, curling around his fear like cold fingers. "Come see me, Ethan." He pressed the charm to his forehead. The voice faded slightly, but not completely. Daniel motioned for everyone to stay behind him and began climbing the stairs. Ethan followed before Laura could stop him, knowing deep inside that hiding would not protect them. Oliver clung to Laura, but eventually mustered enough courage to join them. At the top of the stairs, the hallway was swallowed in darkness. The light switch flickered when Daniel touched it, but refused to turn on. A faint vibration trembled through the air like distant humming. Ethan clutched the railing to steady his shaking legs. Then at the far end of the hallway, they saw movement. A small silhouette stood outside Ethan's bedroom door, pale, motionless, perfectly still. The Watcher child. Daniel lifted the flashlight and shined it down the hall. The beam of light passed straight through the figure and struck the wall behind it. The child flickered as if made of thin, drifting fog, yet its eyes remained solid, dark, and focused on Ethan. Laura grabbed Ethan's shoulder. "Do not move," she whispered. But the child slowly raised its hand, pointing directly at Ethan. Fog spiraled from its arms, spreading across the hallway floor in thin tendrils that curled like searching fingers. Oliver whimpered. Daniel shouted, "Leave him alone." The child did not react. Instead, a new sound filled the hallway, a long, slow inhale. But it came from everywhere at once, from the walls, the floor, the shadows themselves, as if the house was breathing in anticipation. Ethan felt pulled forward by something unseen, tugging at his mind, urging him to step closer. The charm burned against his skin, warning him to resist. But the child whispered again, "You opened the door once. You can open it again." Images flashed in Ethan's mind, a memory he had forgotten. The night before everything began, he had been exploring the woods near Maple Street. He remembered a fog thicker than usual, curling low to the ground. He remembered seeing something bright inside it, something like a mirror made of mist. He remembered touching it. He had opened the door. Daniel stepped in front of Ethan, blocking the child's view. "You are not taking my son," he growled. He swung the flashlight like a weapon, even though he knew it would only pass through the figure. The child flickered again and slowly lowered its arm. Then it vanished. The fog evaporated from the hallway like steam pulled into a vacuum. The humming stopped. The house exhaled, releasing a pressure none of them realized had been building. Daniel collapsed against the wall, panting. Laura held Ethan tightly, her voice cracking. "We cannot stay here," she whispered. "We need to leave Briarwood now." But Mrs. Halden's warning echoed in Ethan's thoughts. "You cannot run from him. If you run, he follows. If you hide, he waits." He shook his head. Leaving would change nothing. "He would come with us wherever we go," Daniel muttered. "Then what are we supposed to do? Sit here and wait for him to take you?" Ethan Ethan swallowed and looked down at the charm. Maybe Mrs. Halden knows more. Maybe there is something in her journals we missed, something that can stop him. Oliver spoke softly for the first time in minutes. Or maybe you have to face him, really face him. Ethan stared at him. The idea terrified him more than anything, but deep inside he felt a strange certainty. The Watcher child would not leave until Ethan confronted whatever door he had opened. Hiding would not help. Running would not help. Only understanding the truth would. For the rest of the night, they stayed awake, listening to every creak and shift of the house. The fog outside ebbed and returned in slow, rhythmic pulses. Ethan drifted in and out of exhausted dazes, clutching the charm like a lifeline. He dreamed of fog shaped like hands reaching for him. He dreamed of a doorway made of swirling white mist and something massive crouched behind it. He dreamed of the child standing silently beside him, watching with those enormous eyes. By morning, a thin, cold sunlight pierced the fog. Birds chirped weakly as if afraid to fully break the silence. Ethan knew the child would not appear in daylight, but he also knew it had not left. It waited. Daniel brewed coffee while Laura packed a bag with the journal pages and the charm's wooden case. Oliver helped Ethan gather anything he might need, though neither boy understood what they were preparing for. Daniel grabbed the car keys. "We are going back to Mrs. Halden. If anyone can help us, it is her. And if she cannot, then we find someone who can." Before leaving, Ethan paused at the doorway. The fog parted slightly as though making room for him. A chill raced down his spine, but he stepped outside anyway. He could feel the Watcher child somewhere in the mist, watching not with anger, but with expectation. He whispered quietly so only the fog could hear, "I am coming." Whether it was courage or doom, he did not know, but he felt the air shift as if something had heard him, something that understood his words and welcomed them. The drive back to Mrs. Halden's house felt unbearably tense as the road wound through the thinning morning fog. Even though daylight had returned to Briarwood, the air still carried the weight of something watchful, something waiting. Ethan sat in the back seat staring at the tree line as they passed. Every shadow between the branches felt too still. Every patch of fog seemed to twist toward him as if recognizing him. Laura kept the journal pages clutched to her chest while Daniel drove faster than usual, his hands tight around the wheel. Oliver sat beside Ethan, unusually quiet eyes darting to every window. No one spoke until the car began climbing Prospect Hill. When they reached the top, Daniel's shoulders slumped. The house looked wrong. The windows were dark, the porch crooked, the surrounding oaks bent inward as though straining away from something inside. But what froze them all was the front door. It hung open, crooked on its hinges, swaying gently in the breeze. Ethan whispered, "She is in trouble." Daniel parked the car and rushed out before anyone could stop him. Laura grabbed Ethan and Oliver, pulling them close. "Stay behind me." They approached the house slowly, each step marked by the groan of old wood beneath their feet. Fog had begun coiling around the porch, wrapping it in a pale shroud. Daniel pushed the door fully open and called out, "Mrs. Halden, are you here?" No answer. Inside the house, the air was colder than outside. The smell of old books and herbs was gone, replaced by something sharp and metallic, like the air before a lightning strike. Shelves had toppled. Papers littered the floor. The journal pages hung from the walls like torn skin. Laura whispered, "What happened in here?" Ethan picked up a fallen jar. Inside it, a small wooden carving had cracked cleanly in half. He felt the charm in his pocket tremble in response. Oliver tugged on Ethan's sleeve, pointing toward the hallway. At the far end, a faint light flickered like a candle struggling to stay alive. Daniel followed it cautiously. The room it originated from was Mrs. Halden's study. The door was half open, and inside the light pulsed. As they stepped in, they saw her. Mrs. Halden sat slumped over her desk, breathing shallowly. Her hair was loose, her glasses cracked. She looked as if the life had been drained from her by something unseen. But she was still conscious. Barely. Ethan rushed toward her, but she raised a trembling hand. "Do not come closer. He is here." Daniel scanned the room but saw no figure. Laura knelt beside the old woman. "What happened? Who did this?" Mrs. Halden struggled to speak. "He is stronger than before. He does not want you to know the truth. He tried to silence me before I could tell you." "Tell us what," Ethan said desperately. Her hands shook as she pointed toward a closed drawer. "Inside is the map, the path to the place where the veil is thin. The place you opened without knowing." Ethan opened the drawer and found a folded parchment, old and brittle, strange symbols etched across it. A winding path, starting from the forest near Maple Street, leading deeper into an area marked only with a circle of uneven lines. Laura frowned. "What is this?" Mrs. Halden coughed painfully. "The threshold, the fog mirror, the place where the Watcher child enters, the place he wants Ethan to return to. He cannot cross fully into our world. Not yet. He needs Ethan to finish what he started." A sudden gust of cold wind burst through the study, extinguishing the flickering candle. The room dimmed. Laura gripped Ethan's arm. "The fog is coming in." Fog seeped under the doorway, swirling across the floor like a living tide. Oliver backed into the corner, trembling. Daniel shouted, "Everyone out of the house now." But Ethan felt something tugging at his thoughts again, pulling, whispering, urging. The voice curled through his mind like icy smoke. "Come back to where you found me." He clutched the charm and the whisper wavered, but did not break. He stumbled backward as the fog thickened, rising waist-high. Shapes moved within it, indistinct and shifting. Then a figure formed slowly at the center of the room. The Watcher child. But this time it was different. Its shape flickered between solid and vapor. Its eyes glowed faintly white, not just dark voids. It was stronger, close to becoming real. Ethan gasped. The child stepped forward without sound, each movement deliberate, clinical, almost curious. Mrs. Halden whispered, "Run, Ethan. Do not let him touch you. If he touches you, the door will open completely." Daniel rushed forward, swinging a chair at the figure. The wood passed straight through its torso and shattered. The child did not react. Instead, it lifted its hand toward Ethan. "You opened the veil once. Open it again." Ethan backed away, heart pounding. Laura shielded him with her body, though her legs trembled. Oliver grabbed Ethan's hand, pulling him toward the hallway. Daniel tried to block the child again, but it moved through him, not past him, through him. Daniel gasped as cold washed through his body, causing him to collapse. Laura screamed, "Daniel!" Ethan held the charm tightly. The lines etched in the wood began glowing faintly blue. The child paused, its head tilting. The charm, it weakens him, Ethan realized. Fog recoiled from the charm's light. The child stepped back for the first time. Mrs. Halden motioned to Ethan, struggling to remain conscious. "Take the map. Go now. The forest. The threshold. It is the only place you can face him." Ethan grabbed the parchment and helped Oliver lift Daniel to his feet. Laura supported them as they hurried down the hall. The child flickered its form, stretching unnaturally like a glitching shadow. Then it whispered louder than before, "You cannot run from what you opened." Fog surged forward, filling the house. Ethan felt a blast of cold strike his back as the presence reached for him. But the charm pulsed bright, and the fog snapped backward like a pulled curtain. They sprinted outside just as the door slammed behind them with a deafening crack. The entire house trembled, as if something massive struck the walls from within. They helped Mrs. Halden out the back door, dragging her to the car. She gasped with each breath, but her eyes remained sharp. Daniel coughed and leaned against the car. Whatever passed through him left him pale and shaking. Laura shouted, "Drive!" Daniel slammed the car into gear and sped away as the fog wrapped around the house behind them like a starving creature. When they reached the base of the hill, Ethan unfolded the map in his lap. The circle at the center pulsed faintly as if alive. Mrs. Halden whispered, "It calls to you because you touched it once, and only you can close it." Ethan stared at the forest path drawn on the map. Cold dread settled in his stomach. He sensed the truth like a knife pressed against his thoughts. To stop the Watcher child, he would have to return to the place where he had first seen the fog mirror, the place where he had opened a doorway between worlds. The forest was waiting. The road toward Briarwood Forest stretched ahead like a dark ribbon cutting through the morning fog. Ethan held the map tightly in both hands as Daniel drove in tense silence. Mrs. Halden lay weakly in the back seat, supported by Laura, while Oliver sat pressed against the door, watching the trees blur past. The deeper they traveled, the more the light dimmed, as though the sun itself refused to follow them into the woods. Fog thickened with every mile, drifting low across the asphalt in pale, twisting coils. Ethan felt it responding to him, sensing him. It curled toward the windows as if reaching for him. He pressed the charm against his chest, and the fog flinched back ever so slightly. Mrs. Halden opened her eyes with effort. "You must listen carefully," she whispered. "The threshold is alive. It is a wound between worlds, and you, young one, touched it." Ethan nodded, though fear tightened around his throat. "What do I do when I find it?" The old woman exhaled shakily. "You must close it, but you cannot do so with strength, only with understanding. The Watcher child is bound to the threshold. If it closes, he loses you. If it opens completely, we lose our world." Laura shivered hearing those words. Daniel gripped the wheel even tighter. "And how exactly does he close a doorway between worlds?" Mrs. Halden stared at Ethan. He must refuse what it offers. The car slowed as they reached the forest entrance. The road ahead faded into a dense wall of fog. Daniel stopped the car. "From here we walk." The moment Ethan stepped outside, he felt a pulse in the air, like a heartbeat echoing through the ground. The map vibrated in his hand, as if eager to lead him forward. Oliver stayed close, trembling, but determined not to leave Ethan's sight. Laura helped Mrs. Halden walk while Daniel kept watch. The path into the forest was quiet, too quiet. No birds called, no insects hummed, only the low whisper of wind drifting through branches. The deeper they moved, the more the fog pressed around them, until the world became a dim gray tunnel. Ethan followed the map closely. The winding path drawn on the parchment matched the shape of the forest trail perfectly, even though the map was centuries old. Something about that made his stomach twist. After nearly 20 minutes of walking, they reached a clearing. The trees bent inward, forming a natural archway. Fog pooled in the center, swirling in a perfect circle, as if stirred by invisible hands. Ethan recognized it instantly. The fog mirror. Images flickered faintly across its surface like reflections in water. Forest shapes bending, shadows moving, and in the center of the swirling mist, a pair of enormous eyes stared outward without blinking. Laura gasped. Oliver choked. Daniel stepped protectively in front of Ethan. But Mrs. Halden shook her head. "This is his burden," she whispered. "He must step forward." Ethan felt his legs trembling, but the map pulled him ahead as if guided by invisible strings. He stopped only inches from the circular veil of mist. Cold radiated from it, chilling his bones. The charm in his hand pulsed softly as if warning him. Then the fog parted. The Watcher child stepped out, not all the way, but enough for its shape to become clear. Its body flickered between solid and vapor. Its movements were slow, deliberate. Its eyes locked onto Ethan with unnatural intensity. "You returned." The whisper filled Ethan's mind, but also vibrated in the air as if the veil itself spoke. Ethan stepped back, but the child reached forward, stopping just before crossing the threshold. Its hand hovered inches from Ethan's chest. "Come back to the door. Open it for me," Daniel shouted. "Get away from him." But the fog around the clearing surged upward, forming a wall that blocked him from moving. Laura screamed. Mrs. Halden collapsed to her knees. The child tilted its head, studying Ethan. "You saw the doorway because you were not afraid of the fog. You walked into it. You touched the space between worlds. You opened it." Ethan shook his head. "I did not mean to. Intent does not matter." Fog tendrils reached from the veil curling around Ethan's legs, lightly brushing his skin. Oliver screamed his name, but his voice was swallowed by the fog. The child extended its hand again. "Open it, and the fear will end. Open it, and you will not be alone." The loneliness in the whisper was so deep, Ethan felt it in his bones like a burrowed sorrow. For a moment, Ethan hesitated, a moment too long. The fog surged upward, gripping him by the torso, pulling him toward the veil. He stumbled, screaming, as frost burned through his skin. The child lifted both arms. "Let me show you." Images poured into Ethan's mind. Endless fog, a gray world without sound, ground, figures crawling through the mist, eyes staring from every direction, shapes that resembled children but were hollow, twisted, broken. A place without warmth, without time, a place that wanted him. Ethan screamed. The charm flared bright in his hand, erupting with blue light that cut through the fog. The tendrils recoiled, shrieking soundlessly. Ethan fell to the ground, gasping. The child's form distorted violently as if in pain. Mrs. Halden crawled toward Ethan. "Listen to me, Ethan. He cannot enter without your permission. He cannot force you to open the veil. You must refuse him completely." Ethan looked up, trembling. The Watcher child stepped back into the fog mirror, but remained visible, glaring at him with hollow longing. "Do not refuse me." Ethan forced himself to stand, gripping the charm. His breath shook, but he raised the glowing wooden circle toward the veil. The fog hissed as if burned. "I will not open it." The entire forest shuddered. The child's eyes widened for the first time, showing something like surprise, then anger. Fog burst outward in a violent wave, knocking everyone to the ground. Trees bent backward, groaning under the pressure. The veil pulsed wildly as though about to explode. Ethan clutched the charm and shouted, "I will not open it." The veil cracked. A thin, jagged line split through the swirling surface like broken glass. Light spilled through it, cold, sharp, blinding. The Watcher child screamed a sound that did not come from a throat, but from the veil itself, from the world behind it. Laura covered her ears. Daniel shielded Mrs. Halden. Oliver crawled toward Ethan, but the fog flung him back. The child lunged, but the charm flared brighter than before, a blinding sphere of light. Ethan felt it surge through him like fire and ice combined. The veil twisted, collapsing inward. The child's body stretched, distorted, pulling back as if being dragged away. The fog mirror imploded. The clearing fell silent. Fog drifted harmlessly across the ground. The air warmed. The light returned. Ethan collapsed to his knees, gasping, tears streaming down his face. Oliver scrambled to him, hugging him tightly. Laura and Daniel rushed forward, pulling him into their arms. Mrs. Halden whispered breathlessly, "You cracked the veil, but it is not gone. Not yet." Ethan stared at the fading fog, trembling. He felt it too. The doorway was broken, but not closed. The forest did not return to normal after the veil cracked. If anything, it grew more restless. Branches trembled without wind. Fog curled upward in thin spirals, as if trying to reassemble the broken doorway. Ethan stood in the clearing, gripping the charm so tightly his fingers ached. The air pulsed with a faint rhythmic vibration, like the dying heartbeat of something ancient struggling to remain alive. Daniel helped Mrs. Halden sit against a tree, while Laura checked her pulse. She was weak but conscious. Oliver stayed glued to Ethan's side, eyes wide and terrified. The clearing felt wrong now, not just haunted, but wounded. Mrs. Halden managed to speak through strained breaths. "The veil is fractured. You pushed him back, but as long as the crack remains, he will try to return, and he will come for you first." Ethan swallowed hard. The charm still glowed faintly in his hand. "What do I do now?" he whispered. "How do I close it completely?" Mrs. Halden shook her head slowly. "I do not know. The old writings only speak of how the veil opens, not how it closes. It was never meant to be closed by human hands. Daniel muttered, "This is impossible. We cannot keep fighting something we cannot touch." Ethan looked at him and saw fear buried deep behind the anger. For the first time, his father's confidence was cracking. Oliver pointed suddenly. "Look!" The cracked fog mirror shimmered faintly in the clearing. The fracture lines glowed like silver veins. Something moved behind the veil silhouettes, shifting with slow, deliberate intent. Ethan felt a familiar presence watching him, pressing against the edges of his thoughts. He whispered, "He is still there." Fog began coiling upward around the broken threshold, like strands trying to weave themselves back into a doorway. The forest darkened as if the sun were retreating. Laura grabbed Ethan's hand. "We have to leave now." They hurried back onto the forest path, but the fog followed them, creeping forward in slow, relentless waves. The deeper they moved into the woods, the more distorted the sounds became. It felt as though the forest itself was stretching, warping around them. Halfway down the trail, Ethan heard footsteps behind them, soft, deliberate. Too close. He turned. The Watcher child stood between the trees. Its form flickered like a damaged projection. Cracks zigzagged across its body, mirroring the fractured veil. Its eyes, however, remained unchanged. Massive, dark, and unblinking. Fog curled around its ankles, but did not rise higher, as if even the mist struggled to hold its shape. Ethan stumbled backward. "No, you cannot be here." The child stepped forward. "I am between, not there, not here." "You cracked the door. I am inside the break." The whisper vibrated through Ethan's skull like splintering ice. Laura pulled him behind her, but the child ignored everyone else. Its gaze locked on him with hollow purpose. "Finish what you began." Ethan shook his head violently. "I will not." The child tilted its head. "You touched the doorway because you were not afraid. You walked into fog because you wanted to know. Curiosity is a key. You opened what others avoided." Daniel stepped forward, blocking Ethan with his body. "Stay away from my son." The child did not move, but fog tendrils lashed upward like striking snakes. Daniel swung his arm instinctively as if swatting them away, but the tendrils wrapped around his wrist. He gasped as cold burned into his skin. Laura screamed. Oliver lunged forward, grabbing Daniel and pulling him back. Ethan thrust the charm toward the child. Light flared. The tendrils recoiled, instantly snapping into mist. The child's form flickered violently, its face distorting into multiple shapes before returning to the emotionless mask. Ethan felt its voice inside his mind again, but softer, almost pleading. "Come back to the veil. It is breaking. I cannot return fully without you." Ethan steadied his breathing. "Why me? Why do you need me?" The child blinked. For the first time, it was slow, unnatural, like a creature imitating something it had only witnessed. Laura gasped. Oliver froze. Mrs. Halden's eyes widened in horror. Ethan stepped backward. "You blinked." The child tilted its head slowly. "The crack weakens me, but it weakens the barrier more. You touched the door. Only you can restore it, or open it completely." Ethan felt ice crawl up his spine. "So that is what you want, me to choose." The child extended its hand. "Not choose. Become." Come, fog surged forward, lifting leaves and dust into a spiral. The trees bent inward. The air thickened until breathing became difficult. Ethan felt the charm heating in his palm, desperate, pulsing. Mrs. Halden cried out, "Ethan, do not listen. He wants to bind you to the veil." The child's voice rose inside Ethan's head. "You belong between. You saw through the worlds. You touched the space where no living thing should walk. Come back and finish what you began." Ethan pressed his hands to his ears, even though the voice was inside. Oliver screamed, "Ethan, do not!" He grabbed Ethan's arm, yanking him away from the fog spiral. The child's emotionless face twitched. The ground trembled violently. Trees cracked in half as the fog drew inward, forming a vortex around the clearing. The broken threshold pulsed at the center like a wounded heart. Ethan knew the truth then. The child was not trying to break through the veil. It was trying to drag Ethan in. The charm flared again. Ethan felt strength surge through him. A force pushing back against the vortex. The fog recoiled, and the ground steadied. The child staggered, as if struck by invisible wind. Its form fragmented. For a moment it split into a dozen translucent silhouettes before reassembling. The child's whisper came again, faint and fractured. "You cannot hold the door alone. You must choose. Close it and become sealed with me, or open it and let me walk free." Ethan screamed, "No!" The forest erupted with light from the charm. Fog blasted backward. Leaves burned away into ash. The child shrieked silently, its body shattering into mist fragments before reforming in a weakened state. Mrs. Halden collapsed, fully unable to remain conscious. Laura ran to her. Daniel steadied her trembling form. Oliver held Ethan tightly, as if anchoring him to this world. Ethan glared at the child. "I will not open the door, and I will not go with you." The child's form flickered once more. Its voice echoed like fading wind. "The crack remains. I remain." Then it dissolved into a thin ribbon of mist, slipping back toward the direction of the broken threshold. The forest quieted gradually, but the air stayed cold, heavy with unfinished dread. Oliver whispered, "Is it over?" Ethan stared at the direction where the child vanished. "No, he is weaker now, but he is not gone. Not until the door is shut." Laura looked at the glowing charm. "And you are the only one who can close it." Ethan nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the truth settle on his shoulders. The veil was broken. The child was trapped between worlds, and Ethan Miller would have to return to the heart of the threshold to end this once and for all. Ethan felt the weight of the forest settle over him like a shroud as the group made their way back toward the clearing where the cracked veil pulsed faintly in the distance. Every tree seemed to lean closer now, every branch twisting toward him, as though the woods themselves watched with silent anticipation. The fog thickened once more, forming low rolling waves that brushed against their legs with chilling insistence. Daniel supported Mrs. Halden, whose breathing grew weaker with every step. Laura hovered near Ethan, her eyes darting constantly between the trees. Oliver stayed glued to Ethan's side, refusing to let go of his sleeve. The forest was no longer just a place. It felt like a doorway itself, a living corridor pushing them toward the threshold. Ethan could feel the cracked veil calling to him, not with words, but with pressure deep inside his skull. A pull, a summons, a demand. They reached a ridge overlooking the clearing. The fog mirror had changed. Its fracture lines glowed brighter than before, spreading outward like spiderweb cracks on a frozen lake. Fog bled upward from it, swirling in spirals as though trying to rebuild what Ethan had damaged. Mrs. Halden opened her eyes and stared. The crack is widening. He is forcing it. The veil will tear completely if we do nothing, Daniel whispered bitterly. And how are we supposed to stop that? Ethan swallowed hard. Whatever answer existed, he knew it revolved around him. Suddenly the ground shook. The fog in the clearing exploded upward in a violent burst, forming a twisting funnel that reached toward the treetops. Ethan felt the pull surge through him, yanking at his chest like invisible hooks. Oliver grabbed him. Ethan, no, but... Ethan stumbled forward, unable to resist. Laura caught him around the shoulders. Daniel stepped in front of him, blocking the force, though it pushed at all of them like a storm wind. Then the Watcher child appeared at the center of the clearing. It rose from the fog like a figure being sculpted by smoke. Its body flickered in and out of form, fracture lines spreading across it like cracks in porcelain. Its eyes, however, remained dark, bottomless, unblinking. Ethan felt sweat run cold down his spine. The child's voice curled through his thoughts like cold, whispering threads. The veil is breaking. You must finish what you began. Ethan shouted, "No!" He thrust the charm forward. It glowed brightly, but the light flickered as though struggling. The child stepped closer. The charm weakens. The door strengthens. You cannot resist both. Fog surged outward, slamming against the ridge. The group staggered. Mrs. Halden cried out, clutching her chest. Laura shielded her. Daniel grabbed Ethan's shoulder, trying to hold him upright. The child lifted its hand. Fog spiraled upward, forming a twisting vortex. Shapes moved inside it. Shadows crawling on all fours, humanoid but broken. Ethan felt nausea claw up his throat. He could sense the other side, a world without sound, without warmth, without time. The child whispered from within the fog. You hear them. They know you. They wait. Ethan pressed his hands against his ears. Stop it, he gasped. Please stop. But the child stepped closer. Its fractured form glitching violently with every movement. Fog tendrils extended from the vortex, reaching for Ethan, curling around his ankles like cold vines. Oliver lunged forward and grabbed Ethan's arm, trying to pull him away. Ethan felt the charm pulse faintly against his chest, but nowhere near as strong as before. Mrs. Halden forced herself upright, her voice trembling. Ethan, you must not reject the veil with fear. Fear feeds it. You must understand it. Only understanding can close the doorway, not force. Ethan turned to her. How am I supposed to understand something that wants to drag me into a nightmare? She coughed. Because it wants what it cannot have. Life. warmth, memory. You touched the doorway and that made you a bridge. It believes you can bring what it lacks. Ethan felt the truth in her words like an ache. The Watcher child was not just a monster. It was something trapped, something reaching, something empty. Ethan stepped forward despite Oliver's desperate grip. Fog curled around him, tightening like a cage. The Watcher child stopped moving, its head tilted slightly, waiting. Ethan spoke softly. "What do you want from me?" The child's body flickered, its voice cracked with distortion. "To be whole," Ethan's breath caught. "Whole like alive." The child blinked slowly, its voice trembled. "Alive, warm, real," Laura gasped. Oliver's grip tightened. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. Mrs. Halden whispered, "The child was never human, but it learned the shape of humanity by watching. Now it wants to become what it has only imitated." Ethan lifted the charm, trembling. The child reached forward, its hand inches from Ethan's chest. "Share with me." The fog tightened around the clearing. The threshold pulsed. Ethan saw things again. The gray world, the broken figures, the child wandering alone through endless empty mist, watching humanity from the cracks, mimicking, reaching. It was haunting him, but it was also begging. Ethan whispered, "I cannot be the doorway for you." The child's form twisted violently. Fog lashed outward. Branches snapped. The ground groaned as though cracking open. The child's voice became frantic, distorted. "You must finish. You opened the door. You touched the veil. You belong between." Ethan shouted, "I do not belong there, and neither do you." He lifted the charm and pressed it to his own chest. Light erupted from it, but this time not blue. White, pure, blinding. The fog recoiled in every direction. The vortex collapsed. The child staggered, its fractured form splitting into dozens of shards of mist that hovered in the air before reassembling weakly. The charm glowed brighter. Ethan felt warmth spreading across his chest, into his arms, into his thoughts. For the first time, the charm felt alive. Mrs. Halden whispered breathlessly, "Ethan, it responds to you. You are choosing life, and that denies him." The Watcher child screamed soundlessly. Its form flickered rapidly, cracks spreading like shattered glass. The threshold shattered further. Light spilled from the fracture, filling the clearing with blinding intensity. The child lunged. Ethan thrust the charm forward. A shockwave of light burst outward. Fog disintegrated. The child's form shattered into mist fragments that dissolved into the air like smoke swept by wind. The threshold collapsed inward, as if inhaled. The remaining cracks folded into themselves and disappeared with a faint echo. Silence dropped over the clearing. No fog, no pulsing, no whisper. Ethan collapsed to his knees. Oliver caught him shaking. Daniel and Laura rushed forward. Mrs. Halden leaned heavily against a tree, watching with wide, trembling eyes. Ethan looked at the space where the threshold had been. It was gone, but deep inside him, he felt something shift. The doorway was closed, yet something still watched from far beyond the veil. For a long moment after the threshold collapsed, the forest remained impossibly still. No wind, no rustle of leaves, no lingering fog curling at the tree line. Ethan felt as though the entire world were holding its breath. He knelt in the center of the clearing, trembling, the charm still resting against his chest. pulsing faintly with leftover warmth. Oliver gripped his shoulder, afraid to let go, while Daniel and Laura crouched beside him, their faces pale with shock and exhaustion. Mrs. Halden leaned heavily on a fallen log, breathing shallowly, but her eyes never left the space where the veil had once shimmered. The light had faded, the cracks were gone, only an ordinary patch of forest remained, and yet Ethan sensed something still lingering, a residue of cold, a whisper in the soil, a faint echo beneath his heartbeat. Laura brushed Ethan's hair back gently. "Is it really over?" Ethan nodded weakly, though he was not convinced. "I closed it. I felt it close." Daniel exhaled, shaking his head. "That thing is gone." "It has to be," but Mrs. Halden whispered, "It is not gone. It was never truly here. And when it reached toward you, Ethan felt a part of it cling to your thoughts. That will not vanish so easily." Ethan's stomach twisted with unease. He stared at the charm, its glow fading but not extinguished. It felt heavier now, as though something had awakened within it. It felt alive. Oliver finally found his voice. "We need to go home. Right now. Please." Daniel nodded. "Agreed. We should get out of this forest before anything else decides to wake up." They helped Mrs. Halden to her feet and began walking back toward the trail. The forest, which had felt alive moments earlier, now felt strangely hollow, too quiet, as though stripped of something ancient that had sustained it. Ethan noticed the leaves around the clearing turning brittle, as if drained of color. Even the air smelled different, lighter, but emptier. Halfway down the trail, Ethan paused. He felt something. A tug, a faint echo against the back of his mind, like a soft calling voice. Not a whisper, not a command, just awareness. Laura touched his arm. "Ethan, are you all right?" He swallowed. "I think so. Just dizzy." But he knew it was not dizziness. Something still touched him. Something faint, distant, but watching. They reached the car. Daniel helped Mrs. Halden inside, while Laura and Oliver settled into the back seat with Ethan. The moment the doors shut, the tension eased slightly, though not fully. Daniel started the engine and drove away from the forest without looking into the rear-view mirror even once. As they descended the hill, the fog behind them began to reform, but differently than before. Not coiling, not reaching, drifting aimlessly like smoke after a fire burns out. Mrs. Halden closed her eyes, whispering, "The forest will heal." But Ethan, the bond you share with the threshold's guardian is not broken. It has only changed. Ethan tensed. "Guardian? You mean the Watcher child?" She nodded slowly. He was not a creature of malice. He was a sentinel trapped between worlds, a watcher of the veil, and you forced shut a doorway. He was meant to guard. Daniel snapped. "Then why did he try to take my son?" Mrs. Halden sighed. "Because he was breaking, unraveling. He needed a replacement." Ethan touched the threshold and became the only one who could inherit its connection. Ethan felt ice crawl up his spine. "Inherit?" Laura shook her head fiercely. "No, my son is not becoming anything. He is going home. He is safe." Mrs. Halden opened her eyes and stared at Ethan with sorrow. He is safe for now, but the connection remains. The drive back to Briarwood was quiet. Houses emerged from the thinning fog. Birds chirped tentatively as though sensing the danger had passed. Yet Ethan noticed small things that felt wrong. A flicker in his peripheral vision, a pale shape shifting between trees, a faint tremor in the charm each time he blinked. They reached the Miller house. Daniel carried Mrs. Halden inside and laid her gently on the couch. Laura brought blankets and water. Oliver stayed close to Ethan, watching him nervously. Ethan went to the living room window and stared outside. The street looked normal again. No fog, no silhouettes, just Briarwood on an ordinary day. But beneath that normalcy, Ethan felt something like a heartbeat pulsing faintly within his thoughts. Oliver approached quietly. "You are thinking about him." Ethan did not answer. Oliver continued softly. "You think he is gone, but not gone, right?" Ethan nodded slowly. "I do not hear him. I do not feel him pulling me, but something is still there. A thread, a connection." Oliver swallowed hard. "Is he alive?" Ethan shrugged. "I don't know if he was ever alive in a real sense." Later that afternoon, Mrs. Halden called Ethan to her side. She looked even weaker now, but her eyes were clear. "Ethan, come here. There is something you must understand." He sat beside her. She reached for his hand, placing her trembling fingers against the charm. This charm was not meant to destroy. It was meant to guide, to connect. It responded to your intention, your refusal to enter the veil, and that is why it glowed. But in doing so, it bonded with you. Ethan felt the charm pulse faintly like a heartbeat echoing his own. Mrs. Halden continued, "You closed the threshold, but you also sealed a part of yourself with it. And so the guardian, what you call the Watcher Child, is also sealed within that connection." Ethan's breath hitched. "So he is still attached to me." She nodded faintly. "He cannot harm you now, but he is aware of you. Always will be, as long as the connection exists." Daniel overheard and stepped forward angrily. "Then we break the connection now." Mrs. Halden shook her head. "Connections to the veil cannot be severed by force, only by choice. Ethan must decide his path." Ethan looked between them, his heart pounding. "If I do nothing, what happens?" Mrs. Halden's voice softened. "The guardian will fade, slowly, quietly. He will linger, but without form, without purpose. A shadow watching from the other side." Ethan shivered. "And if I choose the other path?" Her eyes darkened. "Then the veil may open again, and you will stand where he once stood." Ethan felt his throat tighten. The idea of becoming a watcher between worlds made his skin crawl, but the idea of being forever tethered to something half alive, half lost chilled him even more. Night settled over Briarwood once more. Daniel locked every window. Laura refused to leave Ethan's side. Oliver stayed for the night, again sleeping on the couch. But Ethan could not sleep. He sat at the window, staring at the street illuminated by pale moonlight. For hours nothing moved. Then he saw it. Not the child, a faint outline, a shape, like a ripple in the air, standing near the sidewalk, watching the house. It did not move. It did not blink. It simply existed like a memory of something that could no longer fully appear. Ethan whispered into the dark. I closed the door. You cannot come back. The outline flickered, then faded completely. Ethan pressed the charm to his chest, feeling its faint warmth. The veil was closed, but the watcher was not entirely gone. He just stood farther away in the dark. Ethan woke the next morning with the uneasy feeling that he had not truly slept. His dreams had been filled with shifting fog and distant eyes watching him from behind invisible walls. When he sat up, the charm on his chest pulsed faintly as if responding to his thoughts. The room around him looked ordinary, the soft morning light spilling across the floor. Yet beneath that stillness, he felt a presence like a faint breath on the back of his neck. Downstairs, Daniel brewed coffee in tense silence, while Laura spoke softly with Mrs. Halden, who rested on the couch wrapped in blankets. Oliver had fallen asleep sitting upright at the dining table, his head buried in his arms. The exhaustion on everyone's faces showed how deeply the previous night had shaken them. Ethan descended the stairs slowly. Laura immediately rushed to him, touching his forehead as if checking for fever. Are you feeling all right? You barely slept. I am fine, he murmured, though he knew it was not true. Something feels strange, different. Mrs. Halden gestured for him to come closer. Sit, she whispered. Tell me what you feel. Ethan hesitated before speaking. It is like something is tugging at me, not pulling me out of myself, but watching inside my mind, like a footprint left behind. Oliver lifted his head, like he is still here. Ethan nodded, not completely, just echoing. Mrs. Halden sighed. That is the price of closing the veil. It leaves an impression on the one who seals it, but impressions fade with time. The important thing is that he cannot reach you physically. Daniel rubbed his temples. So what now? Do we just wait for this connection to fade? Mrs. Halden nodded weakly. Yes, but you must be cautious. Doorways leave scars, both on worlds and on minds. Laura placed a comforting hand on Ethan's shoulder. You are safe here. We will not let anything happen to you. But Ethan did not feel safe. Not entirely. Something in him had changed when the veil collapsed. A quiet vibration hummed through his bones like distant thunder. He could sense things now, subtle things, invisible to everyone else. The shifting of air, the faint pulse of shadows, footsteps that were never taken. After breakfast, Ethan stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. The street was calm. Neighbors walked their dogs. Children rode bicycles. The sky was clear blue with no trace of fog. It was as if the town had unknowingly awakened from a nightmare. Ethan stood on the sidewalk and closed his eyes. He heard something, a whisper faint and distant, like wind through hollow spaces. It was not the Watcher child's voice. It was something softer, almost like a question. Ethan opened his eyes, quickly scanning the street. Nothing unusual, no silhouettes, no ripples in the air. But he felt something watching, not hostile, not hungry, just waiting. Oliver came out and joined him. Anything weird? Ethan shrugged. Maybe. I do not know. Oliver nudged him gently. Hey, whatever it is, we will deal with it together. Ethan managed a small smile, but his unease grew. The day passed in relative quiet. Laura stayed close to Ethan, refusing to let him out of sight. Daniel patrolled the house, checking doors, windows, and the yard, as though expecting the fog to return. Mrs. Halden rested most of the afternoon, though she occasionally asked Ethan questions about what he felt, what he saw, and what he dreamed. But as evening settled over Briarwood, something changed. A cold draft swept through the house, even though every window was shut. Lights flickered. The charm on Ethan's chest pulsed rapidly. Ethan froze. Oliver whispered nervously, "Dude, what is happening?" The draft grew stronger, swirling through the living room, like invisible hands brushing past them. Mrs. Halden sat upright immediately. Her voice was sharp. "Ethan, what do you feel?" Ethan closed his eyes. At first, only silence, then a faint echo, a shape brushing against his mind. He whispered, "It is not him." Laura exhaled shakily. "Oh, thank God." But Ethan continued, "It is something else." A creak echoed from the hallway. Daniel stepped toward the sound, gripping a heavy flashlight. Ethan followed cautiously, charm glowing faintly. Oliver stayed close behind him. They approached the end of the hallway, where the shadows looked darker than before, almost thick enough to touch. Ethan felt pressure building behind his eyes, a soft, rhythmic pulse. Something shifted in the dark. A figure, not the Watcher child. This shape was tall, thin, with elongated arms and a head that tilted unnaturally to the side. Its body shimmered like distorted glass, its form glitching in and out of focus. Its eyes were hollow but not dark like the Watcher child's. These were pale, sharp, filled with a cold hunger. Ethan stumbled backward. "What is that?" Laura gasped, covering her mouth. Mrs. Halden's voice trembled. "It is a remnant, a shadow creature from the other side. When the veil cracked, it must have slipped through the fracture. Now it wanders, searching for a connection, for warmth, for life." Daniel raised the flashlight, but the beam bent around the creature as though refusing to touch it. The creature's head twitched slightly at the movement. Then it took one step forward, limbs unfolding like a marionette pulled by invisible strings. Oliver grabbed Ethan's arm. "Run!" But Ethan did not run. Something held him in place. The creature's presence pressed against his thoughts, probing, searching. It felt nothing like the Watcher child. This thing had no purpose, no desire for connection. It was pure instinct, blind hunger and cold. The charm pulsed violently, burning hot against Ethan's chest. Light burst from it, forcing the creature to recoil with a distorted shriek. Its body flickered chaotically, glitching through different shapes before stabilizing. Mrs. Halden cried out, "Ethan, you must drive it back. It is blind to our world, but drawn to your connection. Use the charm." Ethan raised the charm instinctively as the creature lunged. A beam of pale light shot forward, striking its chest. The creature staggered, shrieking, its limbs twisting grotesquely. Shadows peeled away from its body like layers of smoke. Daniel pulled Laura back. Oliver clung to Ethan, shouting encouragement. "Push, Ethan, push it back." Ethan screamed, pushing the charm forward with all the strength he had. The light intensified, filling the hallway with blinding radiance. The creature convulsed violently, its form breaking apart into shards of shadow before collapsing into a swirling mass of mist. The mist writhed on the floor, then shot backward down the hallway as though yanked by invisible force. It slammed against the wall and dissolved into nothing, leaving only a cold silence behind. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. Oliver rushed to him. Daniel and Laura hurried over while Mrs. Halden slowly approached, clinging to the wall for support. The charm dimmed again. Mrs. Halden knelt beside him. "Ethan, this proves it. The veil may be closed, but cracks remain. Weak points where remnants from the other side may try to cross." Daniel cursed under his breath. "So what? You are saying this is not over?" "It never will be over." Mrs. Halden shook her head. Ethan sealed the doorway, but he did not mend the scar it left behind, and scars attract shadows. Ethan looked down at the charm, trembling. The idea that more things might slip through the cracks horrified him. The Watcher child had wanted connection, but these remnants wanted only life warmth, devouring everything in their path. Laura embraced him tightly. "We will get through this. We survived the veil. We will survive anything else." But Ethan looked toward the dark hallway. The shadows no longer felt empty. They felt crowded. Night settled over Briarwood with a thickness that felt unnatural, as if the darkness itself had weight. After the remnant creature dissolved into nothing, the Miller house grew painfully quiet. Too quiet. Ethan sat on the living room floor, legs pulled to his chest, the charm resting heavily against his shirt. Its glow had dimmed to a faint ember, but even that small pulse felt alive. Watchful, Oliver hovered near him, pacing back and forth. Every step echoed like a warning. Daniel boarded up the hallway entrance where the creature had appeared, though everyone knew wood would do nothing against what lived between worlds. Laura tended to Mrs. Halden, who looked more drained and ghostly than ever. She seemed to age with each passing hour, her energy slipping away like smoke. Ethan could not shake the feeling that the remnant had not been alone. The shadows still trembled, as if whispering to each other. Mrs. Halden suddenly whispered, "Ethan, come." He moved to her side immediately. Her fingers shook as they reached for his hand. "What you fought tonight was not a guardian, not a watcher. It was something wild. Something that slipped through when the veil cracked. Remnants are pieces of lost things, fragments of what should have stayed beyond the threshold." Ethan swallowed hard. How many more could there be? She closed her eyes. That depends on the size of the scar, and that depends on how deeply you touched the veil. Ethan felt ice creep through his chest. Before he could reply, the lights flickered again. Oliver froze mid-step. Daniel turned sharply. Laura whispered, "Not again." Ethan rose to his feet, instinctively reaching for the charm. Its glow brightened slightly, as if sensing something approaching, something heavier than the remnant, calmer, but far more deliberate. A low hum filled the air. Not the whisper of the Watcher child, not the distorted screech of the remnant. This was deeper, resonant, vibrating through the walls like the distant toll of a massive bell. Ethan felt it inside his bones. Oliver whispered, "Ethan, what is that?" Before Ethan could answer, the entire house shuddered. The windows rattled, the floor trembled, pictures fell from the walls. Laura grabbed the table for support. Daniel shouted, "Stay away from the walls." The lights went out. Total darkness swallowed the house. Then something moved outside. A slow, rhythmic dragging sound. Heavy, controlled, too large to be human. Ethan felt the presence before he heard it. A pressure in his head building like a rising tide. Not painful, but immense. Ancient. Mrs. Halden struggled to sit upright. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "No, this cannot be. It is too soon." Daniel grabbed a flashlight and aimed it toward the front window. The beam flickered weakly, landing on the street. Fog rolled down the road in a thick blanket. Though this fog did not drift aimlessly, it moved with purpose, with shape. A massive silhouette appeared behind it, tall, towering, its outline shifting like a giant sewn together from shadows, multiple limbs that bent wrong, a head that elongated toward the sky like a column of fog sculpted into a neck. Glowing slits of pale light burned where eyes should be. Laura gasped. "What is that?" Mrs. Halden whispered. "A harrower, a reaper of cracks, a hunter of broken veils. They appear when the barrier weakens. It came for the fisher, or for the one bound to it." Ethan felt his stomach drop. "Me." The harrower stepped forward. Its limbs dragged across the pavement, leaving thin trails of ice in their wake. The fog coiled at its feet as if pulled upward by unseen gravity. Oliver grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to run, right now." But Ethan could not move. The harrower's presence crushed the air around him. It felt nothing like the Watcher child, who echoed loneliness and longing. This thing radiated one emotion only: retrieval, not revenge, not hunger, purpose. Mrs. Halden hissed. "Ethan, harrowers return what does not belong. If remnants escaped the cracks, it will hunt them, and if it senses the bond between you and the veil, it may take you as well." The harrower turned its towering head toward the house. The windows cracked instantly. A deep groaning noise filled the house, as if the foundations strained under the pressure of being looked at. Daniel shouted, "Everyone away from the windows." The harrower lifted one enormous limb and placed it on the lawn. The earth dipped under its weight. The fog thickened, darkening into dense, swirling masses. Ethan felt the charm burning against his chest, not painfully urgently. It pulsed in rapid rhythm, like a heartbeat warning him to act. He stepped forward. Oliver grabbed him. "Ethan, no, that thing will crush you." But Ethan shook his head. "I can feel it. It's not here to destroy. It's searching. It feels the cracks. It feels what came through." Laura shouted from across the room, "Ethan, get back here now." But Ethan stood frozen as the harrower approached the porch, its long, intangible fingers brushing the air near the walls. The wood creaked violently. Nails popped from the frame. Ethan felt the presence probing inside his thoughts, not to speak, not to control, but to recognize him. Mrs. Halden whispered sharply, "Ethan, show it the charm." He hesitated only a second before lifting it. The charm flared with a sudden brilliant light, a deeper, richer glow than before. White tinged with faint gold. The harrower froze. Fog swirled violently around it. Its towering form shivered. It pulled its head back, tilting as if examining the charm from multiple angles. Ethan lifted the charm higher. The ground trembled. The harrower let out a low, rumbling moan, not hostile, not aggressive, more like acknowledgement, recognition. Then it slowly stepped back. Each step shook the earth less than the one before. The fog loosened its grip. The immense silhouette dimmed, as if dissolving at the edges. Oliver whispered, "Is it leaving?" Daniel whispered back, "Or going to get something worse?" But Mrs. Holden shook her head. No, it recognized Ethan as the one who sealed the threshold. The charm holds the echo of the boundary. The harrower respects boundary. It obeys the seal. The sound of dragging limbs grew softer as the harrower turned and walked into the night fog until its shape faded completely. Silence returned. Ethan finally exhaled. His knees buckled and he fell against Oliver. Shaking, Laura rushed over, pulling him into a tight embrace. Daniel checked the windows, which now lay cracked but intact. Mrs. Holden leaned back with a pained breath. "Ethan, this changes everything. A harrower appearing means the veil still weakens. Forces far older than the child will move through the cracks if they widen. The bond you carry, it will draw them." Ethan whispered, "Then how do I fix the scar?" Mrs. Holden closed her eyes. "There is only one answer, and you will not like it." Ethan's voice trembled. "Tell me." "You must go back to the threshold, not to open it, not to close it, but to heal it." Daniel shouted, "Absolutely not. He is not going back into that forest." Laura shook her head violently. "He barely survived the first time." But Mrs. Holden continued, "He must go willingly. The charm responds to intention. To heal the scar, he must face the veil not as a victim, but as its equal." Ethan stared at the faint glow of the charm. He already knew he would have to return to the forest, to the broken threshold, to whatever waited on the other side of the cracks. And the night outside seemed to agree as the fog gathered once more at the edge of the street. Watching, morning arrived, but it brought no warmth. Briarwood felt muted, as though the town itself was bracing for something it could not name. The fog that had gathered at the street during the night lingered in thin stripes along the pavement. Reluctant to leave, Ethan stood at the window watching small currents of mist curl and twist in place, behaving like living threads that refused to fully unwind. Oliver stirred awake on the couch, rubbing his eyes. "Did you sleep at all?" he asked. Ethan shook his head. The charm pulsed faintly against his chest, keeping him trapped in a state between exhaustion and vigilance. The harrower's appearance haunted him, not because of its size or the way its limbs moved like broken pillars of shadow, but because of how it had looked at him, not with hunger, not with hatred, with recognition. Downstairs, Daniel and Laura whispered in urgent tones, trying not to disturb Mrs. Holden, who slept restlessly. She had deteriorated through the night, her skin pale as the fog beyond the windows. Ethan felt a pang of guilt every time he looked at her. She had devoted her entire life to studying the veil, yet his single accidental touch had cracked it deeper than generations of watchers ever had. Mrs. Holden awoke shortly after sunrise. Her voice was weak but firm. "Ethan, come here." He knelt beside her. She reached up with trembling fingers and placed her hand over the charm. Last night's visitor, the harrower. It was not here to claim you. It came to warn you. Harrowers follow cracks. They hunt distortions. If one appeared, it means the veil is weakening faster than expected. Ethan swallowed. So healing it, that means actually going back there. She nodded. Yes, back to the threshold, back to where the tear began. Daniel stepped forward immediately. Absolutely not. He is not going back into that forest. He barely survived last time. Laura crossed her arms tightly. And what if another creature slips through while we are gone? What if more remnants appear? Mrs. Halden met their concerns with a tired sigh. If he does nothing, cracks will spread until they open on their own. Then it will not just be remnants. Things far older and far more destructive will come through. You do not understand the scale of the forces beyond the veil. Ethan took a heavy breath. I have to go. If I do not try, all of Briarwood could disappear. Oliver stepped beside him. Then I am going with you. Daniel's face hardened. No one is going anywhere. This is madness. But Ethan raised his head. Dad! I opened it. I cracked it again. And last night I sealed it. For now, if something worse comes, it will be my fault if I do nothing. I cannot hide from this. Laura froze, caught between fear and understanding. She finally whispered, Daniel, he is right. If the world is tearing open, we cannot just pretend it will fix itself. Daniel paced the room, running both hands over his head. After a long moment, he whispered, Then I am coming too. You are not going near that forest without me. Mrs. Halden shook her head sharply. No, only Ethan, and perhaps Oliver, if Ethan needs support. The veil responds to those tied to the threshold. The rest of you would only make the tear worse by drawing attention. Daniel bristled. I am not sending my son into danger with nothing to protect him. Mrs. Halden pointed weakly to the charm. He has everything he needs, but Ethan was not so certain. They left the house just after noon. The sky remained cloud-covered, giving the day a gray stillness. They walked toward the forest in silence, except for the soft crunch of leaves underfoot. The closer they came, the colder the air grew. The trees seemed to lean inward, their branches forming arches over the path like rib bones of a colossal creature. Oliver shivered. I hate this place. Ethan nodded. I feel everything here. The tension, the pressure, like the forest is breathing. The fog grew dense as they approached the old clearing. Yet something about it was different, not hostile, not beckoning, waiting. They reached the edge, where the fog mirror once stood. The air shimmered faintly like heat rising from pavement. The ground was darker than before, soaked with the residue of something ancient. Ethan felt a tremor pulse up his legs. The charm responded, glowing softly. Mrs. Halden, sitting weakly on a fallen log with Daniel and Laura flanking her, motioned for Ethan and Oliver to step forward. This time, do not fight. Listen, the veil is wounded. Let it show you where. Let it show you how. Ethan approached the shimmer cautiously. The charm pulled forward as though magnetized. The air grew warmer, then colder, then impossibly still. He placed his hand on the shimmer. The world changed. He was not pulled violently as before. Instead, the ground dissolved softly beneath him. Darkness enveloped him, not empty darkness, but layered with depth and movement, like drifting ink. He heard echoes, hundreds of them, footsteps that never belonged to living feet, whispers without tongues, memories without hosts. Shapes moved in the haze, not creatures, impressions of creatures, fragments of beings that had never fully existed. Ethan felt the threshold beneath him trembling like a wound trying to knit itself shut but unable. Then something formed ahead, not the Watcher child, something deeper, a wide fissure pulsing like a heartbeat carved through space. Light bled from its edges, gold and violet. The crack extended endlessly in both directions, expanding and contracting like a living lung. The charm vibrated intensely. Ethan heard a voice, a whisper not of a creature, but of the veil itself. Restore. How he whispered. I do not know how. The whisper came again, a pulse, rather than words. Reflect. Ethan stared into the fissure. He expected a monstrous form, but what he saw instead made his breath stop. He saw himself, not physically, spiritually, a silhouette of light holding the charm, a figure standing exactly where he stood, reflecting his shape, a mirror of intention. The whisper grew louder inside him. Restore by truth, not by fear. Ethan closed his eyes. He breathed deeply. He let go of the fear. He let go of the memory of the Watcher child calling him. Let go of the remnants. Let go of the harrower. He imagined the crack closing, not by force, by harmony, balance. The charm pulsed in his hand. When he opened his eyes, the mirrored figure lifted its charm too. Light flared, white and gold interwoven like threads sewing fabric together. The crack responded. It tightened, shrank, edges mended like healing skin. The threshold vibrated violently, but did not resist. It accepted the healing. Ethan pushed more light from the charm, pouring every ounce of intention into the reflection. The fissure sealed further, its glow narrowing into a thin line. Then it sealed completely. The world stilled. All light faded. Ethan collapsed forward, landing on solid ground. He gasped. He was back in the clearing. Oliver ran to him, grabbing his shoulders. Ethan, are you okay? What happened? What did you see? Ethan looked up at Mrs. Halden, whose tired eyes shone with relief. It is done, he whispered. She nodded. Then the scar is healed. Daniel exhaled loudly, and Laura burst into tears of relief. But Ethan was not finished. One more detail lingered in his mind. When the crack sealed, he felt something else. A presence, slipping away into the dark, not trapped, not hostile, just watching, still there, but distant. The Watcher child had not returned, but neither had he disappeared completely. The walk back from the forest felt strangely heavier than the journey in. The air no longer pulsed with unnatural pressure, nor did the fog twist with hidden intentions. Yet Ethan sensed something lingering behind every rustling leaf and passing breeze. Not danger, not threat, a quiet echo, a watcher's breath trailing behind him at a distance. the way a fading dream clings to the edges of waking thought. Oliver walked close beside him, glancing every few seconds to make sure Ethan was still there, still breathing, still himself. Daniel supported Mrs. Halden carefully, and Laura hovered protectively around them both. Even with the scar healed, no one felt relaxed. The woods felt quieter than they ever had before. Too quiet, like an ancient choir had been silenced. When they reached the edge of Briarwood, the familiar sight of houses and cars should have been comforting, yet something subtle had changed. The world felt softer, colors slightly muted, as though the veil's wound had temporarily reshaped reality itself. The charm resting under Ethan's shirt pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat, but calmer now. Balanced, Laura placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You did it. You really did it." Ethan nodded, though a strange weight tugged at him. Closing the scar had felt like stitching shut an invisible wound, but some part of that wound lived inside him now. A memory, a connection, something bound deeper than sight or thought. They helped Mrs. Halden inside the house. She collapsed onto the couch, her breathing thin but steadier than before. Daniel fetched her water. Laura brought blankets. Oliver sat with Ethan on the floor. After several minutes of silence, Mrs. Halden opened her eyes. "Ethan, tell me everything." He nodded slowly and described the space behind the threshold. The flickering fragments of beings, the massive fissure pulsing like a living wound, and finally, the mirrored figure that reflected his intention back at him. Mrs. Halden listened with grave focus. When he finished, she whispered, "That was not a mirror. That was the veil showing you what it needed. Balance, reflection. A guardian does not dominate the boundary. A guardian reflects it." Daniel stiffened. "Guardian, no. No one is taking my son away." Mrs. Halden shook her head. "Not physically, not literally, but part of him now carries the echo of what the Watcher child once was. Not the darkness, not the hunger, the role." Ethan felt his stomach twist. What role? Mrs. Halden met his gaze. To stand at the boundary between worlds, to feel the cracks before they appear, to keep the veil from tearing again. Laura's voice broke. "But he is a child." Mrs. Halden nodded sorrowfully. "The veil does not choose by age. It chooses by connection." Ethan opened it, sealed it, and healed it. The boundary recognizes him. Oliver squeezed Ethan's hand silently. Ethan said nothing. He did not feel chosen. He felt tethered. That night, after everyone finally drifted into uneasy sleep, Ethan remained awake. He sat near the window watching the street under the pale glow of the street lamp. The charm on his chest faintly warmed whenever he took a deep breath. It felt like a heartbeat that was not entirely his. Hours passed quietly until midnight settled fully over the town. Then Ethan felt it. A shift. Not a threat, not a rupture. A ripple. Soft, gentle, familiar. He looked toward the street. A faint outline stood at the edge of the sidewalk. Taller than a child now, more defined. Its silhouette was still made of pale mist, but it no longer flickered chaotically. Instead, it held shape, like a distant reflection on calm water. Ethan's breath caught. He knew exactly who it was. The Watcher child, only not as a child. The figure's arms were longer, its posture straighter, its head tilted less unnaturally. The eyes, though still dark and deep, did not stare with hunger or longing. They watched with recognition, with distance, with peace. Ethan slowly stepped toward the window but did not open it. He pressed his hand to the glass. The figure did not approach. It remained at the edge of the street, its form bending softly in the breeze. Its presence carried no fear, no demand. It radiated quiet acceptance. Ethan whispered, "You are free now." The figure blinked, not the forced, unnatural blink he had seen before. A real one, slow, gentle, purposeful, and Ethan understood. When he healed the scar, he had not sealed the Watcher child away. He had freed him from being bound to the threshold. The child, once trapped between worlds, now existed only as an echo, a memory of his own purpose, but no longer tethered by duty or hunger. Ethan stepped away from the window, opening the front door quietly. The night air washed over him, cool and silent. The figure remained where it stood, shimmering faintly. Ethan walked to the edge of the porch. They looked at each other for several seconds. Then the figure lifted a hand, not beckoning, not commanding, a gesture of farewell. Ethan lifted his hand in return. The mist around the figure shifted. Its form flickered softly. Slowly, it stepped backward, dissolving into the night air. Its body unraveled into ribbons of fog, drifting upward into the moonlight until nothing remained but a gentle shimmer. Ethan exhaled shakily, feeling the connection between them dim to the faintest thread, then fade entirely. He was alone, but he did not feel abandoned. He felt understood. When Ethan returned inside, Oliver sat up groggily. "Where did you go?" Ethan hesitated, then whispered, "Just saying goodbye." The next morning, Briarwood felt lighter. The fog vanished completely. Sunlight returned with full warmth. Even the air smelled different, cleaner, fresher, as though the world itself had exhaled. Mrs. Halden was well enough to sit up fully. Daniel brewed coffee without trembling. Laura hummed while making breakfast. Oliver tried to crack jokes again. For the first time in days, Ethan felt something close to normal. But deep inside, he felt something else too. Not fear, not connection, responsibility. At the edge of his thoughts, he felt the faint hum of the veil. Not loud, not demanding, just present like distant thunder that reminds you the sky can open at any time. The Watcher child had stepped away from the boundary, and now the boundary watched Ethan. He was not its prisoner, he was its guardian, and somewhere beyond the quiet blue sky of Briarwood, something stirred faintly as if recognizing the shift. The world felt safe again, but Ethan knew this peace was not permanent. It was a pause, a breath, and he was the one who would feel the next ripple first. Ethan woke before the sun rose, pulled from sleep by a pulse in the charm like a soft knock against his heartbeat. He sat upright in the dim quiet of his room. The house was still, the world was still, yet something inside that stillness felt different. Not wrong, not dangerous, just waiting. He pressed his fingers lightly against the charm under his shirt. It responded with a faint warmth, barely more than a breath of heat. Ethan exhaled slowly. He knew what it meant. The veil was calm. resting. But even in rest, it whispered. After dressing, he stepped quietly downstairs. Laura was asleep on the couch near Mrs. Halden, who lay resting peacefully, her breathing stronger than the day before. Daniel slept sitting upright at the kitchen table, head resting on folded arms, exhausted but safe. Oliver snored very softly in a chair, curled up like a watchful guard dog who had finally given in to sleep. Ethan smiled faintly and slipped outside. The early morning air was cool and crisp. A quiet fog hugged the ground, but in a natural way, not in the living, slithering patterns he had seen before. The sky above Briarwood glowed with the pale blue of dawn. Birds began to chirp cautiously, as if checking whether the world was safe again. Ethan walked toward the sidewalk, drawn by instinct more than curiosity. When he reached the edge of the street, he paused. The place where the Watcher child's echo had stood the night before looked unchanged, empty, quiet, ordinary, yet Ethan could still feel the faint trace of presence there, the way a warm handprint lingers on cold glass after the hand has been removed. It was fading, but not gone. A reminder, a farewell. Oliver's voice called softly behind him. "Hey, you okay?" Ethan turned to find Oliver rubbing his eyes, hair sticking up in all directions. Ethan nodded, just getting some air. Oliver approached, squinting across the street. He whispered, "Was he there again?" Ethan shook his head. "No, just an echo." Oliver nodded, though worry still flickered in his eyes. Then he grinned awkwardly. "If you ever turn into a fog creature, I am quitting our friendship." Ethan laughed quietly. "I am fine, really." But inside, he felt a pull, not from the Watcher child, not from remnants, from the veil itself, a soft hum under reality. By the time they returned inside, everyone was awake. Laura was cooking breakfast. Daniel was checking every locked window again, even though the house was finally free of cracks and cold drafts. Mrs. Halden sat upright, color returning to her cheeks. She motioned for Ethan. "Sit with me." He did. Her eyes, though tired, looked sharper than they had in days. "Ethan, now that the scar is healed, you must understand what comes next." Ethan stiffened. "Next," she nodded. When the Watcher child was bound to the veil, he sensed He prevented tears from widening. He guided lost echoes back through the cracks. That was his purpose. Now that he is freed, the boundary must choose a new sentinel, Ethan whispered. "And it chose me." Mrs. Halden placed a hand over his. "The boundary did not choose you alone. You chose it when you confronted your fear, when you refused the void, and when you healed the scar. A guardian must understand both worlds. You touched them both." Daniel stepped forward, voice hard. "I am not letting my son be chained to that forest." Mrs. Halden shook her head. "He is not chained. This role does not imprison. It warns, it senses, it prepares. Ethan is not forced to stand in that clearing forever. He simply feels when the veil weakens, like how some people sense storms in their bones." Ethan swallowed. "Will more cracks come?" Mrs. Halden hesitated before speaking. "Not soon, not violently. The veil is stable now, but all boundaries shift over time. And when the next ripple comes, you will feel it before anyone else." Ethan looked down at the charm. It no longer felt like a burden. It felt like truth. After breakfast, the day passed quietly. Too quietly. Briarwood slowly returned to its usual rhythms. Children rode bikes. Cars moved down the street. Neighbors walked dogs. No one seemed aware of how close their world had come to tearing open. Yet Ethan noticed subtle things. A slight flicker in the corner of his vision. A faint hum in the air when he passed certain places. The distant echo of something watching not him specifically, but the world itself. A vast network of tension and balance hidden beneath everyday reality. And he understood. He could feel the veil because he was connected to it. By afternoon, Mrs. Halden called Ethan outside. She sat in a lawn chair, blanket over her legs, a cup of tea resting at her side. She looked far stronger than she had the previous day. "Ethan, there is something you must see." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small wooden box. It was old, carved with swirling runes that resembled the patterns he had seen in the threshold. She opened it carefully. Inside lay several small objects. An ancient pendant shaped like an eye, a shard of stone that pulsed faintly, a feather of shimmering gray, unnaturally heavy, and a thin ribbon of the same fog-like material that had formed the Watcher child's shape. "These belong to Watchers before you," Mrs. Halden said. "They are remnants of guardians who came before, some human, some not. Every guardian carries something unique." Ethan stared. "What do I carry?" She touched the charm. "This, and your connection, and your intention. Those are your tools." Ethan hesitated before speaking. "Did any guardian ever speak to the veil the way I did?" Mrs. Halden gave a slow nod. "In the oldest texts, there was one, a guardian who listened, who healed, who refused to become a prisoner of the boundary. He chose to reflect the veil instead of belong to it." Ethan whispered. "What happened to him?" Her gaze drifted toward the trees. "No one knows. Some say he stepped fully into the veil to mend a tear and never return. Others say he lived a long life, and the veil grew quiet in his time. Still others say he became a myth." Ethan felt a chill. "Could that be me?" Mrs. Halden squeezed his hand. "Only if you choose to be. The veil does not take, it invites." Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the houses and Briarwood glowed orange, Ethan sat alone in the backyard. The charm pulsed faintly, warm in his hand. Then the air shifted, not violently, gently. A soft ripple passed through the grass, bending the blades as though something brushed them lightly. Ethan lifted his head. A small shape of pale mist appeared near the tree line. Not the Watcher child, a different echo, softer, fragile, like a newborn thought given shape. It drifted slowly toward him. Ethan did not move. He simply breathed. The mist hovered inches from him, shifting like a half-formed idea. It was not threatening. It was curious, harmless, a remnant drawn from the veil by mistake, perhaps, or something newly born as the boundary healed. The charm warmed in Ethan's palm, but did not flare. Ethan whispered gently, "You are not meant to stay here." The mist swirled, almost as if acknowledging his words. The charm brightened softly. A thin thread of golden light drifted from it, touching the mist. Slowly, gracefully, the mist unraveled upward and dissolved into the air like a sigh. Gone. No fear, no violence, just release. Ethan stared at his hand, realizing he had guided it back without force, without fear, without pain. He heard a soft step behind him. Oliver watched from the porch, eyes wide. Dude, you are like a fog whisperer now. Ethan laughed quietly. Not exactly. Oliver grinned. Well, whatever you are, seer, guardian, fog whisperer, I am staying by your side, even if the next ripple brings something weird. Ethan stood, the charm warm in his hand. He looked toward the darkening forest. The veil was quiet, but he felt it. Alive, balanced, resting for now, and Ethan whispered back into the evening air. I am here. I will watch. I will guard. The boundary hummed in return, not as a warning, as a promise. Ethan woke the next morning with an unfamiliar steadiness in his chest. It was not peace. Peace felt like an ending. This was something different, a beginning, a readiness. The charm rested warm against his skin, pulsing faintly like a second heartbeat. He could sense the veil in the distance, not calling, not warning, simply existing, as though waiting for him to acknowledge it. Downstairs, the house buzzed with a strange mix of calm and exhaustion. Laura made breakfast quietly. Daniel checked the locks again, though the shadows around the house no longer twisted with hidden intentions. Mrs. Halden sat upright, sipping warm tea, her strength returning more quickly than anyone expected. Oliver hovered by the door frame, eyes darting between Ethan and the outside world, as though preparing for anything supernatural that might suddenly materialize. Ethan descended the stairs, and everyone looked up at once. Laura approached him, brushing her hand through his hair. You look different today. Ethan wasn't sure how to respond. I feel awake. That was the only word that fit. Mrs. Halden smiled faintly. The veil is quiet this morning. It trusts you. Daniel grumbled into his coffee. Well, I do not trust it. I am ready to move this family into a bunker if we have to. Oliver snorted. With what money? Daniel shot him a glare, but even he cracked a smile afterward. For a brief moment, the world felt normal, but normal never lasted long anymore. Around noon, Ethan stepped outside to check the mail, a simple chore. Harmless, ordinary, yet the moment he touched the mailbox, the air shifted, not violently, not with the cold presence of a remnant, just a ripple, like a single raindrop falling into a perfectly still pond. Ethan froze. The charm warmed against his chest. Oliver called from the porch. You okay? Or are we about to be eaten by fog monsters again? Ethan shook his head slowly. No, nothing like that. Just a tremor. Oliver stepped closer. What does it mean? Ethan stared toward the distant forest. I do not know, but he felt it clearly now. A gentle vibration through the air. Not dangerous, but deliberate, like the veil clearing its throat to speak. Mrs. Halden came outside soon after. Her eyes narrowed. You felt it too. Ethan nodded. She exhaled slowly. That was not a crack, not a tear. That was an invitation. Daniel burst through the doorway. An invitation to what? Exactly what we are not doing. But Mrs. Halden shook her head. Not danger, not warning. The veil wants to show him something only he can see. Ethan's stomach tightened. What could the veil possibly want to reveal? She placed a frail hand on his arm. "Answers," Oliver muttered. "I vote we do not go," Daniel said. "I second that," Laura quietly added. "I third that." But Ethan already knew. This role, the Guardian, was not passive. It did not mean waiting for danger to appear. It meant understanding both worlds so he could keep them apart. So he whispered, "I have to go." Mrs. Halden nodded. "I will guide you as far as I can." Laura embraced him tightly. "Please be careful." Daniel placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "If anything happens, you run. You hear me, you run." Oliver tried to give a confident smile, but worry cracked through it. "If something tries to drag you into another fog realm, shout really loud." Ethan laughed once. "I will." They walked toward the forest, though only Ethan and Mrs. Halden entered the shadowed trees. The others stayed at the tree line. Anxiety knotted across their faces. The deeper Ethan and Mrs. Halden walked, the quieter the forest became. The air felt dense, not with danger, but with anticipation. Leaves rustled even with no wind. Light bent strangely, flickering like reflections in water. When they reached the old clearing, Ethan froze. The threshold, though sealed, glowed faintly. Its outline shimmered softly like a healed scar illuminated by moonlight. Mrs. Halden whispered, "It calls for you. Touch it." Ethan stepped forward. The moment his fingers brushed the air where the veil once stood, the world shifted gently, not violently as before, not with fear, with clarity. He found himself standing in an in-between space, though not the dark, inky realm he had entered before. This place was bright, not with sunlight, but with a soft, ambient glow, like the world itself was made of breath. Shapes drifted through the luminous haze, not remnants, not watchers, not creatures. Memories, not his memories, the veil's memories. He saw the Watcher child not as the creature Ethan had feared, but as a small, pale shape drifting between worlds, observing humans through cracks with fascination. It did not hunger. It did not threaten. It watched because it was lonely. Then Ethan saw the Harrower not as a towering reaper, but as a colossal guardian shaped by the boundary itself, neither kind nor cruel. It existed only to maintain order. And then Ethan saw something else. A figure of light, human-shaped, hooded, carrying a charm similar to his, the first guardian, the one Mrs. Halden had spoken of. The figure raised a hand toward Ethan, not to speak, but to acknowledge him. Ethan understood instantly. He was not the first. He would not be the last. The figure pressed its palm against a glowing fissure, healing it through intention alone. The image flickered, shifted, changed. The guardian aged, grew old. Their light dimmed. Eventually they faded, not dying, not disappearing, simply passing their purpose back to the veil. A cycle, a lineage, a burden passed through time to those able to bear it. The vision shifted again. Now Ethan saw Briarwood from above. The town shimmered with faint lines, fault lines of possibility. Most were calm, some were faintly trembling. Not cracks, but places where reality thinned slightly over generations. Then the vision centered on Ethan. A thin, golden thread stretched from his chest into the distance. disappearing far beyond the veil. It pulsed, alive, connected, necessary. When Ethan blinked, the world returned. He stood in the clearing again, breathing hard. Mrs. Halden steadied him. What did you see? Ethan swallowed. The truth. The veil does not want to trap anyone. It wants balance. It does not want me to guard because I was chosen. It wants me because I understand now, because I choose to protect. Mrs. Halden nodded slowly, eyes glistening. Then you truly are the guardian. Ethan exhaled shakily. He did not feel fear. He felt certainty. When they returned to the forest edge, Laura rushed to him and nearly crushed him with a hug. Daniel inspected him like he expected Ethan to be made of fog. Oliver asked immediately, "So, did you see anything terrifying?" Ethan smiled softly. "No, not terrifying, just important." As night approached, Ethan sat outside on the porch, feeling the quiet hum of the boundary. No longer a threat, just a presence, a partnership. He looked into the darkening forest and whispered, "I understand." The veil pulsed once in response. The world, for the moment, was whole, and Ethan Miller was exactly where he was meant to be. Ethan felt different when he woke the next day. The sensation was subtle, almost gentle, like stepping into a room where the air had been rearranged overnight. He blinked slowly, listening. No whispers, no echoes, no distortion pressing through the walls. But there was something else, a soft hum beneath reality, familiar now, a voice without sound, a presence without form. The veil, it no longer felt like a threat or an accident. It felt aware of him, waiting, watching, trusting. He moved downstairs quietly. Laura was humming in the kitchen while packing lunches. Daniel was pacing the living room, reviewing emails for work like nothing supernatural had ever happened. The sunlight streaming through the windows looked warmer than it had in days. Oliver sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone, glancing up when Ethan entered. "Hey, guardian of fog and reality," Oliver said with a grin. "Sleep okay?" Ethan rolled his eyes but smiled. Mostly. Oliver studied him for a moment. "You really do look different, in a good way, like you slept for the first time in years." Ethan shrugged. "I am starting to understand the connection. It is quieter now, balanced." Mrs. Halden, sitting near the window wrapped in a blanket, lifted her head. Balance does not mean silence. It means readiness. Ethan approached her. "Is something wrong?" "Not wrong," she replied softly. "Just shifting. The veil is never still for long." Daniel sighed dramatically. "Great. More shifting. That is exactly what I wanted to hear this morning." Mrs. Halden ignored him. She motioned for Ethan to sit. When he did, she placed her hand gently over the charm beneath his shirt. "You saw the guardians before you. You saw the veil's memories. What you did yesterday was not closure. It was initiation." Ethan felt the charm warm beneath her touch. Laura looked worried. "Does he have to do anything today?" "Not yet," Mrs. Halden said. "But soon." Later that afternoon, Ethan and Oliver walked into town, trying to pretend that life had returned to normal. Briarwood felt peaceful. Too peaceful. Children played in driveways. Dogs barked. Cars passed occasionally. Yet Ethan's senses were sharper now. He noticed the shift of shadows, vibrations beneath footsteps, faint movements in the corners of reality. When they reached the old library steps, Ethan paused, a pulse, soft, barely there. The charm warmed. Oliver noticed him stop. "What is it?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. He closed his eyes and listened not to sound, but to space. Something brushed the edge of his perception. Not a remnant, not a harrower, something lighter. "A ripple," Ethan whispered. "There is something near." Oliver stiffened. "Should we run?" "No, it is not dangerous." But he didn't fully believe that. Not yet. They walked inside the library. Dusty sunbeams streaked through high windows, illuminating shelves filled with aging books. The place smelled like quiet history. The librarian gave them a gentle nod, then returned to sorting returns. Ethan's pulse quickened as the charm grew warm again. He moved toward the back of the library where the oldest records were kept. Folklore, town history, forgotten manuscripts. The air shimmered faintly, as if disturbed by a breeze that only he could feel. Oliver whispered, "Dude, I am getting goosebumps." Ethan approached a long wooden table. Something lay on it that shouldn't have been there. A book, but not an ordinary one, bound in gray leather, so old it seemed on the brink of dust, its cover embossed with symbols matching the patterns he'd seen in the threshold. He reached for it. The air pulsed. Ethan froze. The hum of the veil resonated through him so strongly that his vision blurred for a moment. He heard nothing but felt everything. This book belonged to the Guardians. Oliver whispered, "What is that?" "I think it is meant for me." He opened the book carefully. Its pages were filled with drawings, sketches of watchers, remnants, harrowers, and symbols describing the boundaries between worlds. Some of the text was in a language he didn't recognize, but some entries were surprisingly simple. One page stood out, a drawing of a boy his own age holding a charm identical to Ethan's. Beneath it were words written in English. "When the veil trusts you, it will show what must be known." Ethan felt chills across his arms. Oliver whispered, "You mean that thing wants you to do homework?" Ethan half laughed, half exhaled. "Something like that." He turned another page. This one was blank at first. Then ink began forming slowly across the page, as though written by an invisible hand. Ethan and Oliver stared, frozen. The ink wrote one sentence. "A new ripple forms tonight." Oliver nearly fell backward. "Nope. No, thank you. Return to sender." But Ethan leaned closer, breath shallow. The words dissolved the instant he finished reading them. A fresh ripple. Tonight. Not a crack, not a tear. A ripple, less dangerous unless ignored. Ethan closed the book. "We need to show Mrs. Halden." They ran back to the house, adrenaline sharp in their veins. Mrs. Halden read the sentence, her face paling slightly despite her recovered strength. "So soon," she whispered. "The veil usually rests longer between ripples." Ethan looked at her, heart heart pounding. What does it mean? She inhaled deeply. It means something is trying to form. Not dangerous yet, but important. If you are aware of it, you can guide it like a spark before a fire, a ripple before a wave. Daniel shook his head. He is not going back to that forest tonight. Not happening, Laura added. We cannot keep throwing him into danger. There must be another way. But Mrs. Halden's voice turned firm. There is no danger if he answers the ripple early, only if he ignores it. Ethan understood instantly. This was not just a role, it was responsibility. As night fell, the charm pulsed stronger. Ethan felt the ripple growing a soft distortion, like a misplaced shadow or a breath held too long. It came from the far side of Briarwood, not the forest. The opposite direction, near the old quarry. Ethan stood at the door. Oliver grabbed his jacket. I am going with you, guardian or not. You are not doing this alone. Daniel nearly blocked the door, but Laura touched his arm gently. Let him do what he must. He is not going to the veil. He is only answering its whisper. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he stepped aside. Ethan and Oliver walked into the night. The air grew cooler as they neared the quarry. Crickets quieted, the wind softened, the charm brightened. Then Ethan saw it, a thin shimmer in the air above the quarry's center, like heat refracting off asphalt, but cold instead of warm. The ripple, it hovered like a fragile bubble of distorted space. Oliver whispered, "That is smaller than I expected." Ethan stepped forward carefully. The shimmer pulsed. A soft shape formed inside it, a shadow trying to be a figure but failing, like a newborn thought, not yet anchored to either world. A harmless echo, lost. Ethan raised the charm. The ripple calmed instantly, stabilizing like a trembling animal responding to a gentle hand. Ethan whispered, "You are not meant to stay here." The echo flickered, then drifted outward like a breath. A small wisp of golden mist extended from the charm, touching the ripple. The distortion unraveled. The echo dissolved peacefully. The ripple closed. Everything fell still. Ethan exhaled, shaking with relief. Oliver clapped his shoulder. "Dude, you just fog whispered reality again." Ethan laughed softly. "Maybe I did." They walked home under a quiet sky. The veil hummed faintly, a hum of approval, a hum of connection. Ethan was its guardian now, and the world no longer felt like something happening to him. He was part of its balance, part of its breath, part of its story. Ethan awoke the next morning with a heaviness that did not feel like fear, but responsibility settling deeper into his bones. The events of the previous night still rippled gently through his thoughts. The quarry, the shimmer, the echo trying to form, and the way the charm guided it away with nothing more than intention. Ethan had acted not out of panic, but instinct, like he had already done it 100 times before. He sat up slowly, listening to the house. The quiet felt different today, not hollow, not tense, alive, like the house itself breathed easier now that the veil had been soothed. Downstairs, he heard soft voices, Laura preparing breakfast, Daniel moving around the living room, Mrs. Halden whispering something to Oliver. Ethan dressed and went downstairs. Oliver immediately perked up. "Morning, fog pilot," Ethan groaned. "Please stop giving me weird titles." Mrs. Halden smiled faintly from her chair. "He will not stop. Accept it. Laura hugged Ethan. You look rested. Did the veil bother you again last night? Ethan shook his head. No ripples, no echoes. Mrs. Halden watched him closely. That is not surprising. After a ripple settles, the veil usually quiets for a while. Daniel added, and by a while, I hope you mean a decade. But Ethan sensed the truth. The stillness was temporary, a pause, not an ending. Later that afternoon, Ethan and Oliver walked along Briarwood's main road. People moved about their day unaware of the invisible tension beneath ordinary life. To them, the world was just a town with stores, parks, and familiar routines. But Ethan saw more now. Subtle shifts in air density, little vibrations in shadowed corners, a thread of faint energy humming through the ground beneath his feet. Oliver noticed him scanning the surroundings. Any weird fog creatures I should be aware of? Not today, Ethan answered with a quiet smile. But the veil is breathing. What does that even mean? Ethan thought for a moment. It feels like it's settling into a new shape, and I can feel it happening. Oliver shook his head. Only you could say something creepy and make it sound normal. They headed toward the park where children were playing. Everything looked ordinary until Ethan felt a faint tug behind his eyes. A soft, pulling sensation, like a distant string attached to his mind. He stopped walking. Oliver frowned. Another ripple. Ethan shook his head. No, this is different. The charm under his shirt warmed gently, humming with recognition. He turned slowly. Across the park, beneath a large oak tree, a young girl sat alone. Her hair was pale and tangled, covering her face. She wore a faded gray dress that fluttered even though no wind touched it. At first, Ethan thought she was just a child resting. Then she looked up. Her eyes were blank, not black, not glowing, just empty, as if nothing had ever reflected inside them. Ethan's breath caught. Oliver whispered, Ethan, what is that? Ethan stepped forward carefully. The child didn't move. She watched him with those hollow eyes, expression unreadable. But she wasn't fog. She wasn't flickering. She wasn't echo-like. She was solid, human, or something wearing the shape of human. Ethan knelt several feet away. Hi, are you okay? The girl tilted her head. Her voice came out flat, emotionless. I woke up here, Oliver whispered frantically. She woke up where? Here, she repeated. Do you know your name? Ethan asked gently. She blinked once. No. Do you know where you came from? Another blink. No. Ethan exchanged a glance with Oliver. This wasn't a remnant. This wasn't an echo. This felt different. The veil was quiet. No crack, no ripple. And yet this child who looked 8 or 9 radiated faint boundary energy. Ethan tried again. Do you remember anything at all? But the girl didn't speak. Instead, she lifted her hand. In her palm lay a small object, a charm, but not Ethan's charm. This one was cracked, old, and dim, its surface etched with symbols that matched the first Guardian's relics. Ethan felt his heart leap. Oliver gasped, Dude, tell me that is not what I think it is. Ethan whispered. That charm belonged to a guardian. The girl stared at Ethan, her voice drifting like wind through empty spaces. I was told to find the boundary keeper. Ethan froze. Who told you? The girl blinked again. someone behind the veil. The charm around Ethan's neck surged with warmth. Oliver whispered, "Ethan, is she like you?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, she's something else. She's human." But touched by the veil, Mrs. Halden's voice suddenly came from behind them. "Bring her here." Now they walked the girl to the Miller house, keeping close in case she collapsed or disappeared or transformed. But she remained solid, real, like any other child, just emptied of memories, identity, and certainty. Inside, Mrs. Halden examined her carefully. Laura whispered, "Sweetheart, where is your family?" The girl blinked. "I do not remember." Daniel knelt in front of her. "Do you know how you got here?" She answered without hesitation. "The fog opened, and I stepped through." Everyone froze. Ethan felt a chill run sharply up his spine. The veil had been quiet, closed, healed. No crack should have opened. Mrs. Halden straightened slowly. "You stepped through. From where?" The girl touched her cracked charm. "I belonged to another watcher, but he let go, so I walked." Ethan's breath caught. "Another watcher," Mrs. Halden whispered. "Impossible." But the girl continued. "I felt the seam. I slipped through, and the voice told me to find the boundary keeper." She lifted her blank eyes to Ethan. "You," Laura gasped. Daniel tensed. Oliver swore under his breath. Ethan knelt in front of her. "Why me?" "Because the veil chose you." Ethan swallowed. "What does it want?" The girl blinked. "Help." Mrs. Halden sat heavily. No ripple, no tear, no warning. Something is shifting inside the veil itself. The girl looked around the room as if studying it for the first time. She touched a lamp gently, as though testing its reality. Ethan asked softly, "What kind of help?" Her voice came out quieter, almost frightened. "Something is missing, something that belongs here." Ethan's heart thudded. Something escaped. He whispered. The girl nodded slowly. "A shadow without shape, a voice without sound, a watcher without purpose, lost between the seams." Oliver whispered, "Are we sure she is not talking about the watcher child?" But Ethan felt the charm pulse with denial. "No, this is something different, something new." Mrs. Halden spoke, voice grim. "If something slipped through without a ripple, it means the veil is changing its behavior, evolving." Daniel whispered, "You mean this gets worse?" Mrs. Halden shook her head. "Not worse, but more complex. Ethan is not just maintaining balance anymore. He must find what escaped and return it." Ethan exhaled deeply, then asked the girl gently, "Can you show me where you came from?" She nodded. Her cracked charm flickered faintly. Ethan felt his own charm answer. Two boundary relics resonating. Laura whispered, "Ethan, please be careful." Oliver stepped beside him. "If you go, I go." Daniel clenched his fists. "You are not walking into fog again." But the girl reached out and took Ethan's hand. Ethan didn't feel cold or fear. He felt a thread, a direction, a summons. The veil had sent this child, stripped of memory and identity, carrying the charm of a long-lost guardian, to seek him, which meant only one thing, something older than remnants, older than watchers, older than harrowers, was waking, and Ethan was the only one who could follow the thread back to where it slipped through. The girl whispered one final word, "Come," and the charm flared with light. Ethan felt the girl's fingers wrap around his hand with a weight that didn't belong to a child. Not physically heavy, emotionally heavy, like her grip carried the echo of an entire forgotten world. Her blank eyes did not move from his face, yet he felt as if she were seeing through him rather than at him. Oliver hovered behind, whispering sharply, "Ethan, do not let the fog child drag you into some void dimension." But Ethan barely heard him. The charm around his neck pulsed once, twice, then glowed faintly in response to the cracked charm in the girl's hand. Two relics, two frequencies aligning, two paths linking through unseen space. Mrs. Halden stepped forward with visible tension in her eyes. "Ethan, before you follow her anywhere, you must understand what she represents." The girl tilted her head almost mechanically. "I represent the missing." Daniel groaned. "Fantastic. That explains absolutely nothing." But Ethan understood the weight behind her words. The missing was not literal. The missing meant something removed from its place, something that created imbalance simply by not being where it belonged. Mrs. Halden whispered, "There were watchers older than the Watcher child, older than modern remnants, older than guardians. Entities formed at the dawn of the veil when both worlds were still shaping each other. Some watched, some held, some waited." Oliver muttered, "And one of them slipped out." "Yeah, great, perfect, just what this town needed." The girl blinked. "It is not dangerous. Yet." Ethan repeated softly. Daniel rubbed his temples. "Can someone explain this whole thing without cryptic fog riddles?" Mrs. Halden sighed. "Think of the veil as a great machine. Every piece has purpose. If one piece moves out of place, the entire machine trembles. This child is from a time when the veil assigned tasks differently. Watchers were not creatures. They were concepts given form." Ethan stared at the girl. "What are you?" She hesitated. "I was memory. I held what the veil no longer needed. I stored what it chose to forget." Ethan felt a chill. "You were the veil's memory." "Yes, until I was released," Oliver whispered. "Why would the veil release its memory?" The girl's cracked charm flickered. "Because something returned that was not supposed to." Mrs. Halden inhaled sharply. "Return, not escaped." The girl nodded. "The missing has been found, but it is lost." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, trying to steady himself. Whatever was happening now wasn't random. It wasn't a threat forcing itself into Briarwood. It was a cycle shifting into its next phase. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. The girl lifted her cracked charm. "Find the place where the missing slipped through, where the veil opened without being torn, where the forgotten returned." "Where is that?" Ethan whispered. The girl turned toward the window. "The forest, of course, not the threshold clearing. Deeper, a place Ethan had never been." Laura gripped his arm tightly. "Ethan, please do not go into that forest again." Mrs. Halden shook her head. "If he does not go, the veil will continue to destabilize quietly. If this missing thing searches without guidance, it could cause fractures far worse than remnants." Daniel's jaw clenched. I am going with him, Mrs. Halden replied softly. You cannot help him there. The veil only opens for those it recognizes. The girl nodded. Only the keeper may enter, and the one who remembers. Ethan frowned. Who remembers? The girl looked directly at Oliver. Oliver's face went pale. Oh no, nope, absolutely not. I remember video game cheat codes, not cosmic fog monsters. But Ethan understood the implication instantly. Oliver remembered the Watcher child when others forgot. Remembered cracks, remembered details no one else sensed. He wasn't connected like Ethan, but he was perceptive, receptive, bordering the edge of awareness. Ethan placed a hand on Oliver's shoulder. If the veil trusts you enough to let you follow, it means you're part of this. Oliver groaned. I hate being special. The girl's cracked charm pulsed again. Time is thin. If we wait too long, the missing will anchor itself here. And what happens then? Ethan asked. The girl answered with a whisper soft as falling dust. The worlds will overlap. Mrs. Halden sucked in a breath. No, that cannot happen. The veil was created to prevent that. Two worlds cannot coexist physically. Reality would collapse into itself. Oliver threw up his hands. So we either go into the nightmare forest or watch existence implode. Great options. Ethan looked at his family. Laura trembling. Daniel tense, Mrs. Halden pale but composed. He looked at Oliver, fear tightening his face, but loyalty burning stronger. Then he looked at the girl. Take us there, Ethan said. The girl nodded. They stepped out into the fading afternoon light. The forest loomed like a living silhouette in the distance. The girl walked ahead with slow, precise steps as if retracing a path etched into her memory long before Briarwood existed. Oliver whispered, "If we die, I'm haunting you." Ethan smirked faintly. Noted. At the forest edge, the girl stopped. Here. This isn't the threshold clearing, Ethan whispered. No, this is older. The trees here bent unnaturally, their branches twisting in spirals that pointed inward, as if guiding them to an unseen center. The air shifted not wrong, but heavier, denser, like stepping into a place saturated with layered time. As they walked deeper, the forest darkened. Shadows moved even when nothing else did. Sound dampened. The girl's cracked charm vibrated softly, pulling them forward. Ethan felt his own charm warm in response. Oliver whispered, "I swear something is watching us." "It is," the girl said calmly. "The missing sees the one the veil chose." Ethan swallowed. "Does it want me?" "No, it wants direction." "Direction. It has been gone too long. It forgot where it belongs. It seeks shape." Ethan felt dread coil inside him, a formless entity searching for identity through him, through memories, through the veil. Then they reached it. A hollow in the forest floor cracked open like a frozen pond shattered from beneath. But instead of water, a thin layer of shimmering air hovered over the gap, distorting everything behind it. The ground around it pulsed faintly. The girl whispered, "The crossing." Ethan felt his heartbeat pound. This wasn't a rip or scar. It was a seam, a natural fold where two realities brushed for a fraction of a second. Oliver whispered, "Dude, that is not normal." The girl stepped closer. The missing passed through here, without intention, without form, without memory. Ethan approached the seam. His charm glowed brighter. He could feel something beyond it. A presence searching, wandering, confused, not hostile, but restless, like a dream trying to remember its own beginning. How do we bring it back? Ethan asked. The girl lifted her cracked charm. You call it. Call it. She nodded. Your charm carries purpose. Mine carries memory. Together they can summon what does not know its name. Oliver backed away. This is how horror movies start. Ethan inhaled slowly and knelt at the edge of the seam. His charm vibrated with increasing intensity. The girl knelt beside him, placing her cracked charm next to his. The forest fell silent. Ethan whispered into the seam. Return. A pulse rippled outward. The air shimmered violently. Then a shape formed, just a distortion at first. Then a shadow. Then something flickering like smoke trapped inside glass. It moved toward them, searching, hungry not for harm, but for place. Oliver shouted, Ethan, do something. Ethan extended his hand, charm glowing. The shape rushed toward him, and the world bent. The world bent, but it did not break. Ethan felt the distortion collapse inward, like a wave folding on itself, dragging space and sound into a tight spiral. The forest around him blurred into streaks of shadow. The air thickened, not with fog, but with possibility, vibrating like a held breath, afraid to exhale. The missing surged toward him, formless, shifting, a being without identity, searching for shape. Its presence pressed against Ethan's mind, cool and vast, like touching the surface of an ocean that had forgotten it was water. Oliver shouted his name behind him, but the sound bent sideways, swallowed by the distortion. The girl held her cracked charm steady beside him, her voice thin but unwavering. Do not pull away. It must borrow your shape. But not yourself. Borrow my what? Ethan choked. Your direction, she whispered. Not your mind, not your memories, just your anchor. The missing enveloped him like a cold wind curling around a flame. Ethan's charm pulsed violently, resisting the force of the entity pressing into him. He felt the pull, the temptation for something rootless to cling to something whole. His identity, his name, his place in the world. The missing whispered through him without sound, a question echoing inside his bones. Who am I? Ethan steadied his breath. You are not me. The entity trembled, confused, expanding into a shape and collapsing again. You are not a guardian. The missing recoiled slightly. You are not a watcher. The distortion around them pulsed sharply. You are something older, something that belongs beyond the seam. The missing shuddered violently, flickering into tendrils of shadow and light, reaching toward the seam in the forest floor. The air rippled. Ethan felt himself pulled forward, dragged by the inertia of a being trying to remember its purpose. The girl pressed her cracked charm closer. Show it the path back. How Ethan gasped. Hold on to yourself and let the rest go. The entity wrapped tighter around Ethan's mind. He felt memories flicker. His first day of school, Oliver's nervous jokes, Laura brushing hair from his forehead, Daniel teaching him how to ride a bike. But they did not fade. They held because Ethan held, and through that stability, he felt something else. A thread, a direction, a place beyond the veil where the missing once belonged. A space of raw potential where watchers were born before they had names. He lifted the charm. The charm burst with golden light, illuminating the hollow seam in the forest. The distortion thinned, stretching like fabric pulled taut. The missing recoiled, then pushed forward, drawn to the light. "Go home," Ethan whispered. The world vibrated. The missing convulsed. Then slowly, painfully, it pulled away from him. Its formless body elongated like a shadow peeling off the ground. It hovered above the seam, pulsing, searching. The girl raised her cracked charm. "Memory," she said softly, "belongs where it began." A single beam of pale light streamed from her relic and connected to the swirling entity. The missing twisted toward it, responding instinctively. Ethan felt the veil hum, a deep, resonant sound. Ancient and vast, the seam widened not enough to tear, just enough to welcome one lost thing back into its place. The missing lunged forward, dissolving into a beam of shimmering distortion that vanished into the seam. The forest exhaled, the seam sealed. Silence, real silence. Not the tense kind before danger, not the charged kind after a ripple. Just quiet. Ethan collapsed to his knees, breath shaking, his charm dim, settling into the soft glow of equilibrium. Oliver rushed to him, nearly tripping over a root. "Dude, tell me you are alive. Tell me I do not need to drag your soul back from Fogland." Ethan laughed weakly. "I'm alive." The girl stood with an unreadable expression. Her cracked charm dimmed completely. The last flicker, fading into darkness. Ethan approached her carefully. "Are you okay?" She blinked slowly. "My purpose is complete." Oliver froze. "Wait, complete as in good job complete, or complete as in self-destruct complete?" The girl looked at her charm, then at Ethan. "I was created to return what was lost. Now that it is found, I no longer hold memory." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean for you?" She tilted her head gently. "I do not know." Mrs. Halden's voice came from behind them. "Let her choose." They turned. She had followed quietly, leaning on a walking stick but standing firmly. "The veil gave her to us. Now she may remain here, if she wishes." Ethan looked at the girl. "Do you want to stay?" The girl touched her cracked charm delicately, then let it fall. It shattered into soft dust before reaching the ground. She whispered, "I want a name." Oliver's face softened. "How about Jessica?" Ethan smiled. "What about Mira?" The girl blinked. "Mira?" Something warm flickered in her eyes, emotion forming for the first time. Mrs. Halden nodded. "Then she is Mira." They walked back toward Briarwood, the forest gradually brightening as though releasing old shadows it had held for centuries. The trees stood straighter. The air was lighter. The oppressive tension that had clung to the woods since the threshold opened now dissolved completely when they neared the forest edge. Laura rushed to Ethan, pulling him into a desperate embrace. Daniel grabbed Oliver in a similar panic, though he pretended it was just a firm pat on the back. Mrs. Halden studied the sky thoughtfully. "The veil is quiet, truly quiet." Whatever was shifting has settled again. The missing has returned, and the cycle has closed. Ethan exhaled slowly. Is it over? Mrs. Halden looked at him gently. The role of guardian never ends, but the crisis has passed. The veil trusts you now, and you understand it. Oliver groaned. Does that mean no more formless nightmare beings? For now, Mrs. Halden said with a smirk. They all headed home. That night, Ethan sat by his bedroom window, watching the night sky. Stars shimmered above Briarwood, peaceful, undisturbed. The charm on his chest rested still and warm. He no longer felt fear. He no longer felt confusion. He felt connection, purpose. A soft shimmer appeared across the street for a moment. Just a flicker of pale mist, shaped like a child. The watcher child, not trapped, not haunting, just watching. Peaceful. Ethan raised a hand. The figure blinked gently, then dissolved into the night breeze. Ethan whispered, "Goodbye." He thought the veil might hum back, but instead there was only quiet. True quiet. The story was not ending. It was becoming something new. He lay back on his bed, the charm resting against his heartbeat. He was Ethan Miller. He was the guardian of the veil, and Briarwood slept safely because he chose to be exactly who he was. Not a hero, not a vessel, a keeper of balance, a watcher of worlds, a bridge that would never break. And somewhere beyond the veil, ancient forces whispered not in warning but in gratitude for the boy who never turned away, for the boy who watched back. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story.